EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365, kicking off a new week here after Week 17 in the National Football League. And your Philadelphia Eagles got the win yesterday, 13-12 over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo at Highmark Stadium. An interesting game and plenty to talk about here on a 2-hour edition of Birds 365. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and drop your comments down below. I'm joined now by John McMullen, host of Birds 365, the #1 Eagles beat reporter. You can follow him at JF McMullen. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother, after an interesting win for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, certainly an interesting win. Yeah, kind of the same. Good team, not a great team. Good, great half, terrible half, inconsistent. A lot of the same things we've been talking about all season, and I don't think they're getting fixed heading into the playoffs. So this is the team you have, and can they develop more consistency over a 4-game span, which is what it's going to take. And that's the fun of it. That's to be determined. But I certainly am not wary of the NFC side of the bracket any longer. I don't trust any of these teams. I know a lot of people are going to focus on San Francisco and Chicago if they watched last night and say, what offenses? Wow, that's amazing. How are the Eagles going to keep up? Well, what about those defenses?
Yeah.
Guys running wide open on that all over the field.
To me, it's actually less about their defenses, John, because I don't think the Eagles take advantage of bad defenses, but the Eagles defense dictates personalities of games. So I don't think those teams are going to be able to play like that at all.
Well, that's the point. Yeah. There's both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be able to move the football like that against the Eagles defense. So, people can, say, well, they can't keep up with that. Well, they don't have to keep up with that. That's the point. Which is very unlikely. You had the one outlier with Chicago, and that was about the running game, though. Certainly not about the passing game. So it's you can if you're optimistic, the glass is half full. If you're not, the glass is half empty. But I will say, when Jeffrey Lurie said what he said a couple weeks ago, this is a championship defense. This looks like a championship defense.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else has that defense. I don't think. Seattle obviously has played better over the entire span, if you just want to go with normal statistics. But boy, I look at them and say, Leonard Williams still a great player, DeMarcus Lawrence still great, but they're aging. They're, can they do it over a long period? Then you talk about the quarterback and Sam Darnold. If they get the #1 seed, San Francisco might get the #1 seed. If Fred Warner was there and Nick Bosa, that might scare me, but they're not. Bryce Huff is out there trying to win games.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I was far more concerned about last year's #1 seed who got knocked off. So whether it's Seattle or San Francisco, I think there's a very good chance they're going to get knocked off before the NFC Championship game. Either of those teams. I think the best two teams are the Eagles and the Rams. That's how I felt going into the game. That's how I feel today. Schedules matter. Like, it's 3 games. Yeah, but those 3 games are against first place teams, against last place teams. So, take San Francisco because they're playing the last place schedule. Well, how many wins do they have?
What are they, 13 or 12? 12.
And how many wins do the Eagles have? 11. So you're telling me 3 games don't matter?
Right. No, they do. It's a good point by you.
I mean, it's so razor thin when you go at the top of the conference. I mean, so
right, let me just set the stage next week, John, for everybody, because we have some interesting football games now in Week 18. The Eagles maybe they'll end up playing their starters because the Bears lost last night. So both Bears and Eagles will play at 4:25 window on Sunday. The Bears will take on the Lions, and the Eagles will take on the Commanders. If the Eagles win and the Bears lose, the Eagles are the number 2 seed. And then on Saturday, you have two playoff type games where you have the battle for the 1 seed on Saturday night. You have the Seahawks taking on the Niners, as John just talked about. That's going to be a great game in Week 18. And then you also have the Panthers taking on the Buccaneers for the NFC South. So those are your Saturday games, and then you have the Sunday games. John, to me, I was looking at the playoff bracket last night. Now, you're going to take whatever hand you're dealt and try and go win a football game. I get that. I understand that. And you're not going to play scared, and I'm not assuming the team will. But as you just alluded to, different matchups favor different teams for different reasons. That 2 seed for the Eagles looks to me like a much more favorable road to Santa Clara than the 3 seed. I mean, I hear you on the NFC West, but I'm looking at that Packer team that's limping right now to the finish line. I like that first round matchup way more than I like either the Seahawks, the Niners, or the Rams in that game in the opening round there, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And obviously, right now, the Rams would be the 6th seed. And as I said, I think that's your toughest game. So, but I think you're going to have to beat the Rams at some point anyway. So, I mean, to me, if you get it over with in the first round or however it shakes out down the road, you're going to have to beat that team anyway. That's kind of my feeling. Of these particular teams. So now,
I mean, unless the Rams lose tonight, though, and tonight they play the Falcons in Atlanta, it's very unlikely they'll fall in 6, John.
Potentially, Seattle.
If they win out, and then if the Rams have the Cardinals and then the Falcons and then the Cardinals, so if they win out, and the only other 2 teams in contention would be the 49ers and the Seahawks. If the Seahawks win that game next week, San Fran will be the 6th. If San Fran wins it, Seattle will be the 6th. LA would be the 5th at 13-4.
Yeah, if they win out, and they, but as we've seen, I mean, did anybody had Pittsburgh losing to Cleveland? Did anybody have
very true
Detroit losing to Minnesota on Christmas Day with Max Brosmer? Everybody, well, if Detroit gets in, blah, blah, blah. Anybody have those instances? My point being is not how it ends up. It's who cares, basically. Is San Francisco better than the Rams for 1 week? Yes. I think the Rams are a better team. I'd rather play San Francisco too.
Yeah.
Versus Green Bay, Again, Jordan Love's going to play in the playoffs, not Malik Willis, but I'm not fearful of them at all with no Micah Parsons. I said that the day went down, basically. Yeah. So it doesn't matter to me. The only optics of it, whenever you get the Rams, if you get the Rams, because that's how, I think the Rams are going to upset people. I think you're going to beat people. Now, if it doesn't shake out where you meet each other eventually down the line, even better, if you can avoid it. And by the way, I don't use that term saying they should avoid it. But my point is, at some point, you're going to have to beat a good football team. If the best one happens in the first round or the NFC Championship game, you still got to beat them. Now, optics-wise, it's worse if you don't beat them in the first round versus if you lose in the NFC Championship. But that's all it is. It's optics. To me, every single one of these teams, and I mean every single one of these teams outside of the Los Angeles Rams, this is just me talking, I don't think can beat the Eagles in the playoffs. I don't. Every single one of them.
Home or away?
Home or away. Every single one of them. I think you're going to see a lot of upheaval in the NFC next season. Again, with guys jumping back up and these teams falling back out.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
These are some flawed. This is a flawed group of teams. Anybody watching that game last night? Are you kidding me? Those are championship teams.
I'm with you. I mean, it was a fun, fascinating game.
It was
to watch.
fun.
Yeah.
Touchdown, 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 touchdown. It's more like an arena football.
I tell you what, though, that Bears offense has, they're starting to turn the corner, though. Caleb Williams, man. John, I know what you meant, man, when you used to say that kid's arm talent is second to none. I mean, his arm talent is unbelievable, Caleb Williams. Now, I don't think their defense stinks, and I don't think they're really the biggest playoff threat, but I do find it fascinating watching Caleb Williams develop.
Yeah. Yeah. Him failing will not be about his gifts, his God-given ability. I'll say that. And getting Ben Johnson around him is great from where he started with a defensive head coach and all that kind of stuff. But, there will be adjustments in the offseason. Copycat league, slow-moving league. They will take away what he does best, and it'll be his job to adjust to it. And he's better equipped to do it. So we'll see. You saw C.J. Stroud his first year, and he, some people criticize him. As he learns to play the position, he's got Houston in the playoffs again. So by no means am I saying this kid's going to fall apart, but I don't think it's going to be a direct ascent to the top.
I don't either. I just like seeing the arm talent on display. It's really, he really has a cannon on his arm, man. He throws that ball, I think fucking flies out of his hands. But all right, John, what are your takeaways then from the Eagles' win yesterday over Buffalo? I mean, I know it looked ugly, but at the end of the day, you zoom out and you're like, boy, you beat Buffalo in Buffalo late in December, in week 17. I get it. It wasn't pretty. I understand. The offense is ugly. I understand all the gripes. Believe me, I understand them. But that's a good win for the team, going into the postseason. I don't know if the fan base will derive confidence from it, but my belief is that the team will derive confidence from it because of the opponent and where you did it, when you did it. What were your takeaways, John, from yesterday's win over Buffalo in Buffalo?
Yeah, it's interesting how the optics skew everything. That's going to be my word today, optics, because if you said before the season in the Josh Allen era, so when Buffalo started winning all these games, if you win a meaningful game in December in Orchard Park, that's like top bullet point on your resume. But the way it looked, everybody's like, oh, that was ugly. Hard to win in this league, as evidenced by the fact that some of the teams we all thought were going to be there aren't there already. Some of the teams we thought that are going to, they'll beat Cleveland, didn't beat Cleveland, as I said. Some of the teams we said, they'll beat Minnesota, didn't beat Minnesota. It's hard to win in this league, but didn't look good. So, I mean, people are going to have that take, and it is what it is, I guess. But there aren't a lot of teams that have won 11 straight games 4 consecutive years in this league. Buffalo's number 1 right now. They have 7, I believe, consecutive double-digit win seasons. And their tops now that Kansas City has fallen off. It ain't easy. So, number 1, it's a good win anytime you win out there. But that doesn't mean you overlook the issues offensively in the second half. That's unacceptable. 16 yards in the second half. That's unacceptable.
It's too low. That's too
low. No completions. 4 consecutive 3-and-outs. Missed blocks all over the place. It's unacceptable.
I don't get, John, why the highs are so high with this team and the lows are so low. I mean, you don't have a great offensive game for 60 minutes. 0 completed passes in a half. How do you go from the first half yesterday, which I agreed with you on the halftime show? Boy, this team looks like they're ready for Santa Clara. And then you go into the second half and you don't complete a pass and you have 16 yards. I mean, I don't understand how the discrepancy is that big between just after halftime. I mean, you just go into the locker room. Everybody talks about halftime's overrated. You get a sip of water. What happened? What happened that you have 0? But again, I'm happy about the win. So I don't want that to be lost. But it's crazy to beat the Bills in Buffalo, John, with 0 offense in the second half. It really is.
Yeah, and it's, everybody wants the simple answer. Everybody wants to blame the one guy that they've chosen to blame. We know who that is. And everybody wants to say, they just took the foot off the gas and told Vic, okay, get a couple stops for us. But, they're throwing the ball down the field to Devontae twice. The one overturned, the other at the end of the game. Decent pass. He's made that catch before, difficult, but, it's not like there's not evidence they're trying to win the game. It's truly confounding, and if they understood it, they'd stop it, obviously. I mean, from my perspective, and again, you got to go back and watch it when the All-22 comes out. To me, Buffalo was selling out to stop the run. Bunch of missed blocks, as usual, from this offensive line. Negative plays. Then you get behind the sticks, and then they become very one-dimensional. And the quarterback's not equipped to just throw you out of that. That's what it is. And then it becomes a tidal wave. And then all of a sudden you got 4 3-and-outs and you're holding on for dear life. And let's be honest, they should have lost the game. If Josh Allen makes a play, he's going to make 99 out of 100 times, they lose the game.
Yeah.
But, so you definitely can't hold on. Well, we won the game. Yeah, you did win the game. That's great. But it's the same thing when coaches say, don't worry about the results, worry about the process, and the rest will take care of itself over a consistent period of time. Same thing happens when you win. Don't worry about the result. You guys fucked that up. You got lucky. So, and I guarantee you that's how Vic approached it. People say, well, there's nothing to complain about defense. There's plenty to fucking complain about defensively. And he'll be complaining about it. Obviously, he's got a high standard.
Find that hard to believe.
Well, they blew the 2 point. They blew it. They blew the game.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, well,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing.
From Vic Fangio's perspective, you're correct. Yeah,
the same thing works both ways: success and failure. It works both ways. Process first with good teams.
I'm just saying, if they completed that 2-point conversion and walked out of there with the win, and we're having a different conversation this morning, it'd be hard for me to blame the defense. All right, it would be. Now I get it, but from your perspective, from Vic's perspective, I think that's fair. That's.
Well, I'm still blaming. I'm not saying I'm not blaming the offense more, but I'm saying you can't. The reason I said that is you can't just say, "Well, they won." Well, they won because. And they deserve credit, as I mentioned on the postgame show. One of the reasons Josh Allen missed that play is because he was sped up and he was dealing with that pass rush all day for 60 minutes. That's part of the reason he missed the throw. So they deserve credit for that. But the bottom line is the play was there to be made. It's pretty much a layup, and he missed it. So you don't sit there as a coach and say, oh, everything's fine. Or you shouldn't.
No, yeah, he's not. I know you're right. I mean, look at Theo. Theo says Vic was going over players' film after the Super Bowl, giving out grades. That's right. That's right, Theo. They are looking for perfection. There's no doubt about it. Well, John, how much do you? I know you hate this this line of thinking, but it is out there, and I just want to get your clarity on this. How much do you think, because Patullo is a first-year play caller, there obviously is learning, there obviously is understanding, there is, you do get better at it as time goes on. At least you would presume that with experience you would get better at it. How much do you think him learning a little bit on the job here is part of the second half struggles? I mean, the Buccaneers game, the Broncos game, the Cowboys game, and now the Bills game. They've had two, really inept halves of football. And then you can even add in the Rams game. It was vice versa. It was the first half. It feels like all these halves of football, John. I don't know. If you put it all on players, maybe. Is it Patullo at all? How much is it being a first-year play caller impacting it? Whereas Kellen Moore, maybe wasn't perfect last year, but at least had a lot of experience to rely on. How do you view Patullo and his role in the several half collapses that they've had this year?
Well, everybody has a role. If you're trying to find, and I know that's where everybody wants to go, but I'm not, when your GPS is programmed, that's where you're going to get. But, what happened in the first half? Why are they so good in the red zone? Why are they so inventive in the red zone? It can't be, they're doing well. The players are overcoming Kevin Patullo, and, they're playing poorly. Kevin Patullo's screwing the players. There's no logic to that. I think everybody's seen the red zone stuff pretty much all year has been better than it's ever been in this era in Philadelphia.
I think he's been phenomenal in the red zone.
So, why are you phenomenal in one aspect? And by the way, he does have a passion for red zone football, so maybe that's part of it. But why are you so good at one aspect and he can't do the other aspect? And then I'm watching Cam Jurgens whiff on blocks, and I'm like,
oh man, Cam Jurgens.
And this is the same, and because I think, and I'm not comparing the two, because I think Vic Fangio's maybe the best defensive coordinator in NFL history. But I use him to point at just the high level of Vic Fangio that I think everybody understands now. Whether they don't understand it, they've heard people who do understand it talk about it. How good he is. And they gave up 283 rushing yards to the Chicago Bears. Did Vic wake up one day and say, "Oh Jesus, I'm not, I don't feel like stopping the run today"? They're not sitting in a chair, a gaming chair, and having an impact on who wins the game and who loses the game. The guys on the field do that.
Yeah, but there's a lot more evidence of Fangio's success as opposed to Patullo's success for that specific example.
But what I'm trying is they're few. They're because they also have tremendous talent on defense, which is a credit to Howie Roseman and drafting and all that kind of stuff. But when have you seen a cornerback like Cooper DeJean? And there's developmental, and the coaches are a big part of it. But and by big part, if you're going to do it, as people like to do, if you say 100%, 90% is talent and 10% is the other. Again, that's why I use the poor performances, and there are poor performances, and there have been poor performances in Vic's career here and in other places. He doesn't become a bad coach on those weeks. That's why I point that out. He wasn't a bad coach against the Chicago Bears. Jalen Carter couldn't do a push-up, couldn't lift weights, and he got pushed around, which never happens. I literally can't see why people can't see that.
No, I think it's easy to see, but what also is there is that they've never seen Patullo be a great coach. They have seen Vic be a great coach. Vic does have the track record. Petullo does not. Now, maybe
a
that's an easy
first-year
cop-out.
coordinator can't.
You know,
Can't
maybe that's an
have
easy
it.
cop-out, but it is part of it. I mean, when Vic
Well,
is
a first-year coordinator.
I don't sit there and say, "Oh, what is Vic doing?" You know, never.
I'm not comparing. One guy's been coaching for 40 years, and the other guy's been coaching for 14, 15, and he's a first-year coordinator. I brought it up to point out that the outliers of the bad games. Like, everybody seems to understand, if the defense has a bad game, and if they had a bad game in the playoffs and give up 281 rushing yards, I'm sure some people will shit on him, but very few. People understand. He's not becoming a bad coach because they perform badly. He's just not.
I know, but they've had 3 halves this year. They've had less than 5 yards passing. It's not few and far between here. I mean, this offense, let's be real, they've been pretty bad all year, or underwhelming, whatever you want to call them, you know, and the instances of this happening are adding up.
Well, I don't think they are adding up because they've been here for a while. Again, we've had these games. There were 7 or 8 of them last year. Poor passing performances. I think if anything, again, you're talking about, you look up over the larger sample size, and you got 1 game to go, and we'll see if they play their guys or not. But Jalen Hurts already has a career high for passing touchdowns. AJ cracked 1,000 yards for the 4th time, for all the only time in franchise history, by the way. Receivers done that. Devontae's on the cusp of doing it. So you have 2,000-yard receivers, essentially. The tight end just broke a 60-year-old record for most touchdowns by a tight end in franchise history. 60 years. The running back's over 1,100 yards. I don't know. It's pretty good.
I get it. That you know, this is a talented unit, but I understand. It is what it is. You have your thought on it, John. What do you make of Jalen Hurts yesterday, man? I think he's obviously the other part of it. You know, whenever you look at an offense as a whole, the quarterback is a big part of it. I thought he played an awesome first half. I mean, some of the throws he made on 3rd down, he had that 3rd and 12 throw to A.J. Brown. He had the 3rd and 4 tight window throw to Devontae Smith. He had the one play where he rolls out, escapes the sack, and then he draws there's a penalty from the Bills that forced, or that equaled them getting a first down. I thought Hurts had a great first half. The second half, obviously, the numbers and the optics of it dictate for itself. It wasn't so good. What'd you make of Jalen Hurts in that game?
Yeah, just as you said, great first half, terrible second half. And that's what's so frustrating, because it shouldn't be that way. When you have a high-level quarterback, it shouldn't be that way. Now, you could argue on the other side, Josh Allen had a terrible first half and a good second half from the perspective of moving the football. So it's not the first time it's happened to quarterbacks, but it happens too often to the Eagles, where they have these ugly halves. And, you know, well, they have 1 first down in the second half. I mean, when you're not on the field, when you don't extend drives. So again, if you look at the drives in the second half, they had the 1 first down right away. First time they touched the ball, Saquon 5 yards, Saquon 10 yards, first down. And then in the shitter, incompletion to Goddard, negative run by Saquon, incomplete. Braden Mann is on the field. Got the ball back. Incompletion to start AJ. Deep right, deep shot to Devontae. Not deep, but that was the 17-yarder that got reversed.
Yeah.
Then incomplete. Your Braden Mann's on the field. 0 for 3 passing. They get the ball back. Jalen Hurts runs it for 2 yards. Saquon runs it for 2 yards. Sack. Braden Mann on the field. You go to the fourth quarter. Saquon, 3 yards. Saquon, 1 yard. Incompletion, Braden Mann's on the field. They get the ball back. Saquon, -3. Saquon, 1. Incompletion, Braden Mann's on the field. And then they kneel down to win the game. The running game, again, last year they closed out games with the running game. Didn't matter. Everybody in the building knew they were trying to run the football. They closed it out. They can't do it. They can't run the football.
Right.
And when they can't run the football in their 3rd and long, this quarterback's not going to be consistent. Well, first of all quarterbacks aren't consistent on 3rd and long. That's what you try to do as a defense. Get people in 3rd and long. You saw in the first half, he was able to extend plays, make big conversions. You can't do that consistently. I thought there were positive indications against Las Vegas and against Washington that the running game was getting in a more positive frame. It took a big step backward in Buffalo. And this is what it looked like for a lot of the year. And if they run the football that ineffectively, they're going to struggle on offense.
Yeah, no doubt. And they did yesterday in the second half. They still walk out of there with the win, John, largely because that defense is amazing, man. They gave up only 12 points to the Bills. They held. What'd you make of the defense yesterday in the big win over the Bills, John, in Buffalo?
Yeah, I mean, great players playing great games. Zach Bond, Cooper DeJean, the defensive front.
Great to see Jalen Carter back in the backfield, not in an aggressive, physical, fast way. He really got back there quick that one play.
Yeah. That front is good now with Jalen Phillips in there. And Jalix Hunt has turned the corner. And to me, I he looks better than Nolan Smith. And not that Nolan is playing bad, but all of a sudden they can do what they did last year and come at you in waves. And when you can do that and affect quarterbacks like Josh Allen, you're going to win a lot of football games. And that's what they're doing. And then you back it up with the short tackling. It's the exact opposite of the offense. Where the offense, you see them missing blocks. And on defense, you never see them missing tackles. I mean, now that True Makuba is out of the lineup, he was the one who would occasionally miss some tackles. And you expect that with younger players. And it's not quite as good with Jihad and Nakobe. But Jihad I thought he played well. Even though he got beat on the 2-point conversion play. But that's a tough matchup with Shakir for a linebacker. So I'm not going to kill him for that. But I mean, Cooper DeJean and Zach Bond, they never miss tackles. Cooper never misses a tackle.
Cooper bullied a big offensive lineman to jump on that fumble. Now, ultimately, it wasn't a fumble, but I love that. He's so aware, man. He's running over to the ball, and the offensive line's there, and he looks at him and just goes, pop, but moves him off the ball and jumps on it. I thought that was hilarious. Cooper's a great player.
Yeah, and that's what everybody says the same thing. Just a great football player. It doesn't matter where he is, what he's doing. Just a great football player.
It's amazing he fell to the second round.
Yeah, people worried about injuries, and all he does is, he's so. I've never, Cilio asked me that yesterday. I got to cover Antoine Winfield Sr. People remember the Joe Webb game. It wasn't the Joe. I say it all the time. It wasn't the Joe fucking Webb game. It was the Antoine Winfield game. I've never seen a quarterback dominate a football game like that day against the Eagles. Dominated the football game. Such a good player, such a sure tackler, to the point it stood out because nobody can tackle at corner. And that was back then. Now nobody can tackle at corner except Cooper. I mean, that dude doesn't let you breathe. Whew. And with all due respect to Quinyon Mitchell, who's also an All-Pro and a Pro Bowl, and I'm going to vote for him to be All-Pro, Cooper's better.
They're both damn good, man. They are both damn good.
They are. But, I mean, Cooper DeJean is just a player that – and part of it is just where he plays, because you're more in the action, the irony of outside corner is a more valuable spot to the nerds, the team builders, but on the field, it's more impactful. Same thing with running back. On the field, off the field, they don't value running backs because they're going to get hurt but on the field, who handles the ball more than a running back? You saw Christian McCaffrey last night. You saw Saquon Barkley last year. You see Gibbs when Detroit is playing well. Who does more for the offense than those guys other than the quarterback? But nobody values them. Same thing on defense. It's the inside players who are more involved in the actual game than outside cornerback can ever be. It's not their fault. It's just, and especially a Quinyon type who doesn't get thrown out a lot to begin with.
That's pretty damn valuable too. I know he's not in the action as much, but he takes away halves of the field easily.
It is bad. I'm not saying it's not bad, but it's not nearly as valuable. And for some bizarre reason, they devalue safeties and slot players especially, and running backs on the offensive side of the ball from a business perspective. But from a football perspective, they're far more important, is all I'm trying to say. And Vic has said it numerous times.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying from that perspective. Cooper's a great player. That defense, man, really humming. That defense gives a lot of confidence for this team to make a run here, because the one thing I love about him, John, you always say games have personalities, and they do, and all matchups are different, and you can't watch the Niners and the Bears last night and just assume that the Niners or the Bears are going to score that type of points against us. This defense dictates games, Johns. They dictate the personalities of games. They don't let teams play their brand of football. That was the lowest points the Bills have scored this year. They scored 12 points in that game. I mean, they made them play an ugly brand of football. Now, weather was a part of it, all those different things, but shit, Josh Allen and that Bills team plays in a lot of bad weather. So I thought amazing performance yesterday for the Eagles. Amazing performance for the defense, really. And I thought the offense was good in the first half. They just fell apart in the second half and did absolutely nothing. But interesting stuff. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. We got 2 super chats we'll get to. Let's go to Brian Fleming. J-Mac, I see no counters and traps or duo blocks. Just jumbo with trash like Calcaterra. Stout is still there. We've done that in the past. What the F is going on?
Well, they early in the season, I mean, when they went under center, the whole thought process was that teams were really selling out when they were in the gun or pistol and selling out to one side. So the idea was to give options. As far as, combo blocks, they've been trying. A lot of teams now, remember, to Zander's point about dictating, if you put 5 guys on the line with these variable fronts, which again, Vic is responsible for as a league-wide trend, and that means you're putting an extra guy, and then it becomes a one-on-one game. And the Eagles have been losing that far too often when you consider the talent or the reputation they have on the offensive line. When they've gotten to the combo blocks and they've been able to manipulate things to do that, they've been a little bit better. And then obviously if you drop down to 6th, as the Eagles occasionally do, but rarely, and other teams will do, then you can't do combo blocks. You can't. The numbers game doesn't work out. So that's been a big part of the problem. But they faced a lot of this last year as well. Like, I think the assumption is, people are just running and not trying to stop Saquon Barkley when he had 2,005 yards. The bottom line is the players aren't playing as well. I think everybody sees that with Cam and Landon. They're just not the same players. Then you have Fred in for Lane. It's been, 5-6 games now. That's a big downgrade. Tyler in the running game is a downgrade from Mekhi Becton. And Jordan Mailata's not playing as well as last year. Still playing at a high level, but not playing as well. I mean, the offensive line is not nearly as good as it was last year when it was one of the best ever. And I think it's obvious when Cam Jurgens gets whipped, but if you see it from play to play, it's just not nearly what it was last year. And then you have a running back susceptible, even though he's susceptible to try to bounce things. So when you do whiff, now in that instance, there's nothing he can do. So when it's a complete whiff, you can't blame it on Saquon. But when it's not a complete whiff and it's just some guy getting whipped, basically, at the line of scrimmage, that's where the running back has. If it's blocked for 1 yard, get the 1 yard. If it's blocked for 2 yards, get the 2 yards. And the really good running backs, you turn 1 into 2, you turn 2 into 3, etc. And Saquon hasn't been doing that well this year. So it's all of that. But again, Jeff Stoutland, and maybe I should have used that explanation more than Kevin Patullo comparison with Vic Fangio, because Jeff Stoutland is one of the best offensive line coaches of all time, already won the Legacy Award as one of the best assistant coaches of all time. And to the point of the comment, do you think Jeff Stoutland woke up and said, oh, let's not do any counters. Let's do not any traps. Let's not do. They've done all that stuff, but they haven't done it effectively or as effectively as you're used to. And again, welcome to the other half. Saquon came into that game. What was he, 9th in the league?
Yeah, I think he still is 9th.
It ain't easy to run for 2,000 yards. And it was always an outlier. It was always going to be an outlier. But it should be better than it is. And right now, when they struggle like these halves, I know everybody wants to point to the passing game. It's about the running game. It's about the negative plays, which is also penalties, but they didn't have any penalties that I remember yesterday. Earlier in the season, that was a big problem. It's normally about the running game and the ineffectiveness of the running game. But Jeff Stoutland didn't become a bad coach overnight.
No, he didn't. But, the running game is a big problem. And that offensive line, John, they look, man, Cam Jurgens looks brutal to me. But it is what it is. Here, let's go. A couple more supers. JH, what's up, dude? Campbell won't go down easy against the Bears. Not his style. The Lions definitely still have playmakers. We have a decent shot at the number 2 seed. I think that's a great take. I don't think the Lions are rolling over in that game. I think they're going to try and win it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how they handle it. I mean, that's part of it. You got to wait and see during the week. I mean, it might be out of his hands. You got a bunch of these loser organizations, loser teams. The GM might step in, the owner might step in and say, "I'd rather have the draft positioning." A lot of loser mentalities around this league. So, I mean, if it shows up Wednesday, Kyle Allen, I think that's their backup, but whoever is starting the game, it is what it is. But from the Eagles' perspective, just from the way that Nick was talking after the game yesterday, I think they're going to seriously consider resting a bunch of key players. But we'll see. You know, it burned them when they in 2023 they're scoreboard watching, and Dallas was blowing out whomever. I have to look at. I think it was Washington, but whomever they were playing, they were blowing them out early, and then they started to remove their key players, and AJ Brown hurt his knee before they could, and wasn't able to play, and the rest is history. Not saying that's the only reason they lost, but they remember it. I'll tell you that. On the other hand, even more recent history, last season shows you the value of the number 2 seed. So if you can get it, you want it. And if it were me, I would scoreboard watch. I'd play my guys and look at the game and how it's unfolding. And if Chicago is running away with the game, I'd start to pull them. That's how I would handle it. Washington is going to keep playing Josh Johnson. I think they are. I think that I'll put it this way. I think there's going to be serious discussion this week about resting starters on the belief that they can beat a Josh Johnson Commanders team with Zander Krause and JH-LB3KC.
I think they can beat them, certainly with Tanner McKee and those guys. Let's see what they do. Riot says, no sitting this week. These guys need all the work. I don't necessarily disagree. I think they should go in there and play.
Does the defense need to work? What if Zach Bond gets hurt? Now, again, you can't legislate injuries, but that's the last thing you want to happen is to have one of your key players get injured in a bullshit environment in Week 18 when you're going to the playoffs.
The way this team coaches and plays, I would assume they're going to sit guys.
I don't know if they are, but I think there's going to be serious conversation to that.
They're risk averse. It's like their whole philosophy.
Well, they're certainly risk averse offensively.
Well, I would assume.
I don't think, and that it depends on who you're talking. Vic is not risk averse. I mean, my belief is there's only 17 of these things. If you're healthy, go play. And that's anywhere. If you're in the playoffs, out of the playoffs. But that's not the world we live in. Especially now that guys make the money that they make. Now it's become more of a, wow, this guy's too valuable an asset. It's a football player. He's paid to play football. Let him play football. And you see what's going on with Max Crosby and the Raiders. He's showing video. He's fine. He wants to play. That's why he's a great player.
Yeah, right.
But they want to shut him down because the last thing they want him to do is get injured. And again, a meaningless environment. So, unfortunately, that's the way of the world in modern sports.
Yeah, let's see what ends up happening. We'll see what they end up doing. We'll keep you guys posted on that throughout the week. It is New Year's week. Hope everybody has a great New Year this week. Appreciate all you guys for being here this morning. Got a good crowd in here. We appreciate all of you guys for being here. John, you think they'll try and get Devontae Smith his 1,000? AJ Brown at 1,003 yards. Devontae Smith's at 956, so he's 44 yards away.
Well, if they're going to rest people, I don't think they're going to play him to get him 1,000 yards. I think.
Yeah, it's either they're playing or they're not. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're playing, yeah, they'll try to get it for him. You try to do Think about Saquon. Saquon had a chance to break the all-time rushing record last year. They're not going to play the whole fucking team, so
Yeah.
Saquon can break the
So
record.
Smitty can get 1,000
But
yards.
their discussion was there was discussion about that amongst the fans and things like, oh, you got to give them the opportunity to make history. No, you don't. It's no offense, but that's stupid.
Would have been cool to have it last year, but I get it.
I mean,
historic season, the way they played, the way they dominated all throughout. If you won it with that, that would have been pretty sick. But yeah, you're right. I get it. They obviously made the right decision in hindsight. You know, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you know, Saquon ended up breaking a different record, and ultimately, you know, that's about more than, but the team goals are about more than individual games goals. And when you talk about, you know, big time contracts, like I mentioned, the Cilio, yeah, I mean, like the incentives are a big thing for 1 and 2 year guys who sign these incentive laden deals. Escalators on those big contracts, yeah, you might get something for an all pro or a Pro Bowl, or for a receiver, maybe 1,000 yards, but it's not even at the level of a workout bonus. Like a lot of guys have workout bonuses, you know, to make sure they're doing stuff in the off season. Those high level contracts are, you know, it's not, you're not going to be bending over backwards to somebody making $1 million who can turn $1 million into $2 million. And that generally is more of a narrative around bad teams as well, to be honest. Stats, chasing stats. That's bad team talk.
Yeah. It'd be great to get the. I think it'd be great for the Eagles to get the 2 seed. I understand that the you know, maybe that you know, the conversation how it will unfold, but I think it'd be great to get the 2 seed. I think that would be the best road to Santa Clara for this team. You start with the Packers at home. That Packers team is limping into the postseason. I think that to me makes the most sense. But if they're going to go the route of let the chips fall where they may, that wouldn't surprise me either. I would advocate for playing everybody. That would be my perspective on it, but I don't know if they will or not. John, looking at the playoff picture, you know, right now, if you do this like predictor thing, which we already know most of the games, who do you think wins tonight, Rams or Falcons?
Rams.
I think the Rams win that game too. So if we assume the Rams win tonight, and there's no guarantee there. And who do you think wins the battle for the 1 seed? Niners, Seahawks. Early feeling on that game. Obviously not your final, you know, pick on it.
Seattle.
In San Francisco.
Yeah, I think Seattle's gonna force some.
You think Darnold gets his revenge from last year's Week 18?
Well, I think the Darnold. I don't think it's revenge. I think Detroit was better last year, and I think Seattle's better this year.
That's fair.
But I think Seattle's the team capable of making the turnover-prone quarterback get turnovers than San Francisco's defense. San Francisco's defense is brutal. I mean, brutal. Again, Bryce Huff is chasing, trying to win games for you. They just don't have the horses. That Seattle defense is good. So I'll it's more about Seattle's defense.
All right, and then the Bears and the Lions. I think the Bears win that game. It's in Chicago, but I don't know who are they going to want to rest people. I mean, that's why the
No.
last night. I know, but I'm saying if they won that game last night, they'd be locked into the 2 seed. They would have been resting people in Week 18.
No, they still would have had a chance, outside chance of 1 seed. The Falcons would have had to beat the Rams tonight, but they still would have had a chance. Now, if the Falcons, they could have backdoored if they won out and still gotten the 1 seed. Very unlikely. It was very low percentage, but It was still alive if they won that game. Now it's not alive. But Chicago definitely wants the 2 seed. They're going to play their guys.
So you think Chicago wins the game next week versus the Lions?
Yeah. I have to see what Detroit's going to do, number one.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, I get that there was one commenter before. If it were up to Dan Campbell, he'd play. But he's not running that organization. You know, do they want to put Jahmyr Gibbs at, after the season he's had, do they want to put him at risk? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Jared Goff, after he got beaten to hell on Christmas Day. You want to look at Kyle Allen? Maybe. I'll tell you what. If that team gets 4th place, that's good for them.
Yeah. Well, if the scenario unfolds the way we just laid it out, with the Bears winning next week, the Rams winning out, and the Seahawks winning the game for the 1 seed, the Eagles would be taking on the Niners in the wild card in Philly. I think that'd be a pretty good draw, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's a great draw. A great draw.
I'll tell you what, though, Kyle Shanahan is freaking in his bag right now, John. That offense is humming.
Yeah, well, I do worry about McCaffrey, but
they had no Kittle last night.
Yeah, and it showed, by the way, even though they scored all the points. At the end, when McCaffrey got banged up, and that's another thing, he got banged up, they started having some troubles, as many troubles as you could have in that particular game, which weren't a lot because the defenses were awful. But I mean, look, everybody Christian McCaffrey's phenomenal. Just a phenomenal football player. He's like the offensive version of Cooper DeJean. He can do whatever. I still maintain he's a better quarterback than Josh Johnson. He's the best receiving back I've ever seen, ever, in the history of the game, ever. And I don't care who you bring up, ever, because he can run routes like a receiver. I don't know if he's near 1,000. I know he's near it.
100 on the receiving.
Yeah, I know he's near it. And Kittle will be back, so they will be very difficult offensively. But again, the Eagles defense will make things as difficult as anybody for them. And their defense is terrible. It's terrible. They have no horses.
Yeah, but our offense doesn't take advantage of bad defenses.
I think they will take advantage of that bad defense.
I just don't know why you think that. Like, they haven't done that. We've played bad defenses.
They've had good offensive games, more good offensive halves. But I think they've had good offensive games.
Yeah, you got to play 60 in the playoffs, man. And I mean, they just went against the Bills. That's not a great defense.
It's not. And it's, again, weather played into it. I think people are immediately ignoring that again, because both sides, they're an explosive offense, right? Josh Allen in Buffalo didn't look great offensively. They stopped Cook for the most part. And nobody else. I mean, they have a very good defense. But I do think, again, people remember for whatever reason, they remember what they saw last and think that will carry over. Like, they haven't played well offensively this season at all, when technically the numbers and the passing game are better than they were last year. Again, I brought up all the statistical numbers that everybody loves until they want to forget them. Like, the quarterback's got a career high. The tight end's got a career high. The receiver's over 1,000 yards again, despite all the complaints. Devontae's right there to do it. Saquon's over 1,100. I mean, they've had offensive performances. Again, inconsistent. I get it. But it hasn't been a complete shit show for the entire season. They got the same limitations they've always had. The running game isn't nearly as good as it was last year when it was historic. And on the other hand, they're the best red zone team in football. So when they do get it moving, they generally cash in. But whether it's the perfect passer rating against Minnesota, whether it's the game against the Giants, whether it's, scoring some points against shitty teams, which is how you manipulate these statistics. But you can't play up these statistics and then say, oh, I want to ignore them because they had a bad second half in Buffalo. Well, they had a good first half. I can't believe I'm the glass is half full guy. But again, December win in Buffalo. If I told you that in a meaningful environment, not in a, if I told you that before the season, first place on the line for Buffalo, they're still fighting for a seed, no more, but they have everything to play for. They're playing to win the game. And you beat Buffalo in Orchard Park, that's a signature win. But it didn't look good. So it becomes they're a shit show. I can't go that far.
Let's see what happens. We're going to see what happens here in the NFC playoffs. Getting ready. Week 18 coming up. Eagles versus Commanders. The Josh Johnson-led Commanders, probably.
Oh, my God. If I have to watch Josh Johnson play, don't they have somebody? Can't Sam Hartman play? Washington, I'm begging you. Dan Quinn, please. Don't subject me to another Josh Johnson game. Please. I'm begging you. I'll take anybody. I'll take anybody else.
I don't think they got anybody. Who do they got?
Sam Hartman.
Sam Hartman? Who the hell is Sam Hartman?
He was Notre Dame's quarterback a couple years ago. Looks like he's 75 years old. I think he spent 8 years in college. He played 6 years at Wake Forest, and then he transferred.
There you go. Sam Hartman, 26 years old. Says Wake Forest, and then Notre Dame. There you go. Good pull, John. Maybe we get some Sam Hartman action.
No, I don't think we're getting it. I wish we'd get it. But
let's see what happens. All right, good stuff there. Appreciate everybody for being here yesterday. John, you say that about the Bills winning late in December. I agree completely. I really do. I agree completely. It's a tough place to play. Good win. But they just had these extremes, man. Just have 50 yards in the second half. You just have 60 yards.
Well, I'm not saying it's good, by no means, but the fact that, and again, offensive football in the NFL to the point that they're going to have to change some rules again has been not good compared to recent seasons. And the defensive guys seem to have caught up. There's a lot of these instances, and then I get it, and then Sunday night shows up and the exact opposite. And they're playing a, Paul Westhead basketball game, going up and down the floor, score. But it works both ways. I mean, those defenses were atrocious. So, but, and then it's Kyle Shanahan against Ben Johnson. So everybody is saying, oh, Kyle's great. And I'm the first in line, by the way, by far the best play designer in professional football. But I mean, these are the same people that shit on him when he loses in the playoffs. And the same thing with Ben Johnson. There's a lot of Ben Johnson talk in Detroit. I believe Detroit had the top scoring offense last year and number 2 in yards. This year, they had the top scoring offense and were number 3 in yards. To the point of talent, you got talent. Give me Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
Over a large sample size.
What offense in the NFC playoffs do you think would be the toughest test or toughest matchup, I should say, for the Eagles defense?
What offense in the NFC? Can I still pick Detroit? They already played Detroit. Bad weather. You're hoping for bad weather. The Rams. Yeah. But I mean, they've stopped the Rams before. I am not fearful of any team if I'm an Eagles fan.
Me neither. Definitely not. No, I don't. In fact,
But
that might be part of the reason that I'm fine with just resting. I mean, whatever. Green Bay, San Francisco, Seattle, I don't give a shit. Just give me one of the teams. You're going to have to knock them all down anyway.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Rams are the best team. If I were doing power rankings of the NFC, Rams would be number 1, Eagles would be number 2. I think the Rams are a more well-rounded team than the Eagles. But the Eagles have had their number, are in their head. I'm sure. And the Rams are getting frustrated because they screwed some good opportunities to get that number 1 seed, and they know what that means. And now they got to go the difficult route because they flubbed it. So I'm sure that affected them as well.
Yeah, let's see what happens there. Let's get to some super chats. Then we got Chris Franklin coming up on Birds 365. Jeff Kerr, your normal Monday guest, was a little busy today. He couldn't be with us. Hopefully we'll talk to him later in the week. Park says, perfect storm. All is healthy going into the playoffs. That's very true, Park. This team, once again, is getting to the end of the year, and they remain healthy overall.
Well, I would say healthier.
Healthier.
Nobody's healthy, but yeah, healthier than most teams.
I mean, you're going to have Lane back. You got Carter back. Carter looked good. You know, man, another year. This is no longer a coincidence. I know people say sometimes it's luck. It is. There's some of it, but every year the Eagles are one of the more healthy teams in football. Every year for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, but you can't legislate ACLs and Achilles. It will turn at some point, unfortunately. But it's been a good run. And what they do, what you can give them credit for is, the rehab stuff. When it comes to getting guys back, like, Jacoby, perfect example. That's a really difficult injury. And by the way, first play of the season. Everybody's forgotten him, but Ben Van Sumeren was going to be not a big part, but a significant part of the offense. And one of the better special teams players. First play of the season, same thing, same Jacoby injury, torn patellar. You can't legislate that, man. But non-contact, too. Something's going to go. It's going to go.
It could, but I do think their overall philosophy has worked out very well, obviously.
But to the point of, and I brought this up about both quarterbacks yesterday, they play through shit. There are other people that don't play through shit. And that's a fine line, too, because you saw Jalen Carter trying to play through shit against Chicago. It didn't work out. You get to a point where you can't do it, and you got to beg off. Cam Jurgens is playing through shit. Landon Dickerson is playing through shit. So that's why I say healthier. Everybody's banged up in the NFL. Just because you're not on the injury report doesn't mean you're 100%.
Yeah, it's true. Here's Joshua. What's up, Joshua? 3 straight years as a top 10 offense. This is the first time both run and pass are bad. An offensive coordinator's job is rhythm and keeping defenses off balance. New OC.
I hope you've never made that continuity comment in years past. And I don't know. I can't judge what Josh was saying, but if you made that continuity comment, Jalen Hurts needs the same coordinator, which a lot of people have made, and then the same people turn around and get upset. Yeah. Again, if you look at it, the rushing offense was historic last year. Historic. 6th best of all time. Of all time. What are there? 9 2,000-yard rushers? No player has ever had more rushing yards in one season, including the postseason, than Saquon Barkley. So, number one. Can't go higher than number one. This year he came in, he's got over 1,100 yards. Still pretty good. Not 2,000. If they had 2,000, they'd have a top 10 offense this year. Because the passing offense is technically better than it was last year. But yeah, I mean, they had a top 10 offense with Brian Johnson, and everybody wanted him fired. Because the defense sucked. Complimentary game. And they haven't run the football well this year. So you're going from historic to coming into the game, they were 15th in the NFL. There's 32 teams. You went from historic to average in 12 months in the running game. And that's, at times that's even skewed by Las Vegas and Washington and the bad teams. At times you've been way worse than average in the running game.
Here's Dice. What's up, Dice? Quick scan, but this appears to be the first season Hurts has ever started every regular season game. It's true. Best statistically since 2022 season.
Now, he played 17 before, but I'd have to look it up. I think this will be, if he plays 17.
I thought he missed a couple each of the last few years.
He has most years, but I think 1 year, but I have to double check.
Maybe 21 he didn't.
He played 17 in 2023. He played 15, 15, 17, 15, 16. And some of that, like last year, he rested. He was ready to go. Some of that was he got hurt. He got hurt in Chicago with the shoulder, got hurt with the ankle. So some of it's been injury related. But he has played 17 before. And this year, if he plays next week, he'll play 17 again. Which he may or may not do. But this will be the second time if he does.
Here's Pumper. Every game is another team's get-right game for their defense. Our QB is consistently inconsistent, and BP cannot endorse that type of inadequacy.
Well, he is consistently inconsistent. That's fair. Which is frustrating. But
It is. Can be very frustrating. Here's Jason Marsden. Jason, what's up? If they're going to criticize JH for the second half, imagine being Josh Allen with all those yards and no points. Well, he did score some points, but yeah, not many.
Yeah. It was a bad game for Buffalo, too.
Yeah.
But they were much better in the second half than the first. But a lot of that was the urgency. They have to play differently. I mean, part of that is that certainly the Eagles probably went more risk averse than even normal with the 13-0 lead in that weather. And they had urgency. You see it all the time. People are saying, you dominate a football game, and then you're up 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden guys beg off defensive coordinators and they start playing what fans will call prevents, but what they're really trying to do is keep the ball in front of them, keep them on the field, run the clock, siphon the clock, and all of a sudden it gets away from them. It happens all the time. It's happened for years. If you have a greater sense of urgency, the more likely you are to pile up yardage. Trust me, if the Eagles were down 13 points, I guarantee you they don't have 4 consecutive 3-and-outs. I guarantee you. Personality of the game matters.
Well, let's see what happens. Jason, appreciate the super chat. We got Chris Franklin set to join us right now here on Birds 365. Let's bring him up here. Chris Franklin. You can follow him at C Franklin News. Chris, welcome in, brother. After a Week 17 Eagles versus Bills matchup, how you doing on this Monday morning?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how the heck you only get 17 yards in the second half, but I'm okay.
16, Chris.
Sorry,
they
16.
kneeled down. Everybody forgets. Everybody forgets to kneel down. Yeah, it was ugly. I mean, and that's, I said, now, if you were in hibernation because it's winter, Chris, and you woke up and I told you the Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park in December in a meaningful game that the Bills had to win, you'd be pretty happy, I think. But after watching the game, everybody's pretty sad. Why do optics matter so much to people?
Well, I think it's important because you're seeing the same thing over and over again. It feels like it's a bad nightmare dream you keep having over, especially when it comes to this offense. That's why I think a lot of people are still worried about. Listen, defense played his butt off and it did well. But even if you go up there, you're up 13 points. And then you just see the same thing that we've seen so many times with the second half issues where you don't make adjustments. The other team makes adjustments and you can't see that. And now when you look around the league, especially Sunday night, and you see these prolific offenses putting up 40, 38, and you realize if you want to get back to the Super Bowl, you have to face one of these. Can you win in a shootout like that? And the way this offense is looking right now, you got to have serious questions about that.
Well, Chris, my only pushback on that is I don't think this defense is going to allow a shootout to happen. I mean, they're so good. They seem.
Yeah, who's not to say, Chris, that they can't drag the Eagles defense can't drag the San Francisco offense into the muck with them and make it an ugly game.
You can make it an ugly game, but we also see what Kyle Shanahan has done with his defense beforehand too. Even with Vic as well too, and go on a road. We've seen the Eagles. The Eagles went on a road and beat Buffalo Bills, but look at all the weapons. Look at what weapons Josh Allen had to work with versus what the weapons you can see the 49ers potentially having.
Well, that's true. That's brutal. Brandon Green should be ashamed of himself. What Khalil Shakir is your best receiver. Actually, Brandon Cooks is your best receiver, Chris Franklin.
And that's what worries me when you have Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and stuff like that. They could put 24 up on this defense, and that's tough to do against them because the way they're playing, the way they're communicating, the way they're working the back end, yeah. But if you can't sustain drives in situations like that, you're going to wear these guys out. And even if you do give them a half off next week, if they find out they can't get the 2 seed and they get a half off, they've been on the field for so long now, and especially if you get a team that likes to run the ball and is effective, you're going to wear that defense out. So the offense is going to have to step up at times, and you're going to need to. You can't keep hoping to get up to these big leagues and try to salt them away in the second quarter because you can't sustain stuff and you can't make adjustments.
Chris, this is not the first time this has happened this year where the tale of two halves, man. I mean, you had the Bucs game earlier in the year, you had the Broncos game, you had the Cowboys game. Now you have this game where it looks completely different one half to another. A lot of people criticize Kevin Patullo. A lot of people, think it's the players on the football field. How do you kind of see the offensive, like when they get into these problems and they can't move the ball at all? It's not like 50 yards here, Chris. We're talking about 16 yards and a half of football, 0 completions. Where do you think the number one problem is and why that happens with this offense?
if it happened once or twice, I put it on the players in terms of execution. But for me, it's coaching. It really, it just, some of the play calls, the tendencies, it reared its ugly head again. These last two games that they had, they looked well. You started to see some of the different looks. You started to see the different formations. It looked right. It like they regressed. And that's the frustrating thing when you look at this offense. I look at the certain play calls, the certain situation, first down. It just all, when you look at all that happen together, it just feels like we're back to where we were beforehand. And that's where I look at the coaching and looking, you're not making adjustments the right way. You're not throwing something they haven't seen in the second half. Maybe you save some of the stuff you have formations you had beforehand that when you script the first 15 plays, maybe you have to go on the halftime and script the first 15 out, or you have plays that you held on that you haven't shown before, or you do something that you built off of and you set up. Maybe you have a counter to that. I just don't see that as much as sustained as we have over and over, and it seems it's Groundhog Day. It's just bad.
All right, I want to take Kevin Patullo out of it because I think he's the low-hanging fruit for people. I want to take him out of it, and I want to focus on Jeff Stout because we all know Jeff Stoutland and what he is. And, you know, he just won. He's coming off winning the Legacy Award from the Pro Football Writers as one of the best assistant coaches of all time. He's been doing it for a long time. We had a commenter earlier in the show saying they don't do this, they don't do enough duo, they don't do enough traps, they don't do this, they don't do that. This is one of the greatest run game coordinators in NFL history, one of the greatest offensive line coaches in NFL history, coming off a year where he had the sixth best rushing attack of all time. Why isn't he making adjustments, Chris Franklin? Or is it Cam Jurgens is whiffing on freaking blocks at the point of attack?
Yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't help. It's like he's so stuck in the mud sometimes. But also, I counter with this: you can have all the best run fits in the world. You can try to adjust it all. But we know teams are going to go all in and say, you know what, we're not going to let Saquon Barkley, we're not going to let all these guys basically. You're not going to let him run wild on us. You even get guys throw Tank Bigsby in this now. So you throw all that. I counter it with this: why can't you get the pass off or run fits to try to alleviate some of the pressure off the boxes that you're seeing, especially on first, second down? And also, look at this: he doesn't have final say on the play call, because if you keep looking at first down and you go, it's one of those things where you see to try to get in tempo, and this really irks me because it's one of those tendency breakers that they need to work on. First, they go in a hurry up, they get a first down. All right, you're good, you got momentum. You go immediately in the shotgun. 7 or 8 times out of 10, you're running inside zone, you run or inside or running outside. It's like, and you get like 1 or 2 yards. You see, it's not like it's like once or twice. It seems like that's like a built-in their philosophy to just go, okay. Now I understand if you have like if a challenge or a call is questionable, you don't know, you just want to run a play just to not get like a review or something like that. I get that, but there's so many times when we look at it and you're just going, well, here's a wasted down, or okay, first down. Here comes a run for 2 yards. Bam. This is where I look at where you say if that passing game was much more of a threat and you put the safeties back because you're more so worried about AJ and Devontae and Dallas, or not running Dallas around the little play action pass out for like 3-4 yards, which has been effective, but still run the same play, then I think you start to see a little bit more room for Barkley to run. So in the final say always for the play call, you can say is Nick because he may suggest some stuff, but the final say comes with Patullo. And that's where I don't see it much low hanging fruit. I see him low hanging fruit. I see it in the middle. I see it as the little buds that are growing at the top of the tree and everything else. It all goes to Patullo.
I'm still going. Here's what I'll say, because I hate the word adjustments, because in the NFL you're making adjustments basically from not play one, but even and I had this discussion, I say it all the time with Doug Peterson back in the day. People talk about scripted plays a lot. That the Eagles call them their openers. And Doug would tell me that, he just said it matter of factly one day. He said, you're off script the minute you hit third down. the first time. So if you have the first 15 and you're humming and you never get the third down, you might get through those 15 plays. But the minute you get the third down, you're on your third down menu. Or the minute, and by the way, if you're doing well, the minute you get into the red zone, you're on your red zone menu. You're always off script. You're always adjusting. That's number one. But the second part, I would say, Chris, when have the Eagles shown more adjustments than this year in this era? And what by that I mean, they can't run the ball. Last year, they could run the ball. It didn't matter if they loaded the box. It didn't matter what they did. They ran the football down people's throats. This year, they couldn't run the ball. How many times were they under center the last 4 years? Now they're under center all the time, trying to make adjustments in the running game to get Saquon going. The red zone stuff has been the most effective it's been in the Nick Sirianni era. They've made so many adjustments for what they came into the season, because they came into the season saying, we're going to try to do what we did last year. That's how they came into the season, which is understandable because they dominated. My point is, they've made more adjustments than they ever had before because they've had to. And here's my argument with the passing game, which I agree with your philosophy. And that's, try to get people to play too high, try to threaten them with the passing game. But guess what? If the opposing defense comes into a game and says, I want you to pass the ball because I don't want Saquon Barkley to beat me. If they don't fear Jalen Hurts and they want him to throw the ball, how do you make them come out from that philosophy other than have success? Like Minnesota, where you have a perfect passer rating. And by the way, Flores still didn't come out of it. He ran the whole game. He didn't come out of it. So my point, Chris, is how do you do that if people want Jalen Hurts to throw the football?
My thing is this, and it goes back to you mentioned when it comes to the openers and the scripting and stuff. There are tools to see what a defense is going to try to do. And that's why I like to wish they do it more in the second half, maybe have that thing. If you don't know what to do with the tools in terms of calling it and you're having issues trying to counter that and seeing what they're doing, and that's why I think when those adjusters don't know what they're doing, like you can go off the first 15 and go, okay, they're playing cover 3, they're playing cover 2 this, okay, I see they're doing this with motion. If you're still running if you see like a stacked box and say, I want to run a dive play right into it, and it's like they run into a brick wall every time. I'm just going to do it just to say, hey, we're going to run just through a brick wall. And you can really, like, the quarterback does have a say in that. Yeah, the quarterback has to execute that one too. It's also the in terms of the offensive coordinator, we're going, well, you know what? Maybe he's struggling. Let me try to open up this, or let me open up this. And like you mentioned the Minnesota game where they had different things. You saw some teams with the too high shell. If they had success beforehand and it's on tape, they're going to make the adjustments to that. Where's the counters, or where's the anticipation of, maybe I have a feel of, they're going to try to do this. I'm going to go try to do that. And it's when you look at the really good offensive coordinators, we don't see Ben Johnson do that consistently. You don't see it happen with Ben Johnson. So many other top offensive coordinators, you see them still trying to overcome it. When you look at his team, which has arguably more talent than the talent-wise itself, from the quarterback position all the way through the offensive line. Yeah, they're not the top offensive line playing like that right now. But you look at all those other things right there, this team should be doing a lot better. So if you have the constant of if you have better personnel, they've shown that in the past. Consistently, you see when they actually get going, how many do that pass. I look at that more of, hey, why is this why isn't it working? And then to me, I'm sorry, it's just the coaching. It just is.
Well, I would just say, unless you get Tony Dungy out of retirement, there is nobody who is going to play cover 2 consistently against the Philadelphia Eagles. Nobody.
Kidding.
I mean, they'll throw it occasionally as a curveball, but I don't think anybody is going to play cover 2 against the Eagles.
Or even cover 3. The cover 3 takes more patience, but those long crossers, but
why?
especially
But my point is, how are you getting the defense out of to do that? That's my point. Like, how if they come into a mindset of, I want this guy to throw the football. If he beats me throwing the football, I will accept that. Versus, I do not want Saquon Barkley to beat me. How do you force them out of that mindset? Because that's the mindset I see almost week in and week out with opposing coordinators.
it comes with using more creative motion, not just doing it just for the sake of it. To say, like, when you get those favorable matchups, maybe you put AJ in the slot sometimes, or maybe you need to get him more free release more. Maybe you use a flip flop. You put AJ and Devontae in the slot more often. You have those guys on the outside. So you just adjust, there's little tweaks and ways you can do that in terms of it. And even if you go 7, 8 in the box, 9, you see those 8 box with a safety down that way too. There's different beats for that too. It's a matter of the execution aspect of it, yeah.
Well,
But to
and
me, it's that
Flores is
too.
unique. I'll admit that, but he literally was getting gashed and didn't come out of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't play at that level and get them to come out of it, I don't know how you can get them to come out of it.
This is where
That's my point.
I wish the website. I don't subscribe to it. Look at the perception. I would love to look at what the chart the percentage, because it was already high for certain things and before you. But if you keep running with certain guys, with certain players at AJ, you keep running the stop route, you keep running the
They run
go
a lot
outside
of
the route.
hitches.
Yeah,
They
and
run a lot of hitches.
and if I'm a
But they run
cornerback,
now from their philosophy, they run a lot of hitches because they think AJ and DeMonte are going to win their one-on-one matchups. So I mean, that's as long as they have those two guys, they're gonna run a lot of hitches.
and if I'm a cornerback, if I see the hitch, if I know they run a lot of hitches, that also knows that I don't have to line up as deep. So if they run like a 5-yard hitch, that means I don't have to bail out as much. That means I'm helping a little bit more towards the run support, and I'm more towards the box. And that's what I'm like. I feel like the Chappelle show with the Wu-Tang Clan. Diversify your routes. Do something like that in terms of that. You need to diversify your routes and just do some more stuff like that, because it's just I don't have hair.
But I think everybody looks at Ben Johnson, Kyle Shanahan, and says, "Why can't you be like that?" Well, you got to play a certain way to be like that. And the Eagles don't play that way. That I think is fair. But you just can't wake up one day and say, all right, we're going to be this run heavy centric team. We're going to build behind this offensive line and this running back. And then overnight turned into Kyle Shanahan. I mean, you have to practice that from training camp and off season and all that bullshit. And for years, really. And you have to get a different style of quarterback. That I think is the difficult conversation that people aren't ready to have, Chris.
With the Shanahan offense, I don't think you have to do that, because if anything, I think it makes some of those ones who are lower tier make them look a lot better, because a lot of the things they're still relying on the run game. They use the quarterback boot a lot more, and you see the crossing routes, you see the type of motion. If anything, I think the best way, if you ever do want to use the Shanahan offense, and I know Mike McDaniel, everybody's hoping to fire him, and then he comes back. I still think he had some issues there with him doing that. I think maybe you just incorporate some of that into the offseason when you get a new offensive coordinator. Maybe bring somebody on staff.
Haven't they tried to do that? Haven't they tried to do that with the under center stuff?
A little bit you can do that. You can still do that with there. I think that's a lot of things. I still wish they did more, even before the season. And before that, I'm more of a pistol under center guy to begin with, because I believe that just gives it a look. It makes you, it doesn't give you that tell. You don't basically shut off half the line beforehand, where you go like, okay, he's standing on this side, is where you do a pitch to the same side. So he's either crossing the way or you're running up the middle. I think it makes it a little better. I'm for being more under center. I'm for being more important. And maybe it's philosophy wise. That's why as much as everybody and their mom runs the Shanahan all-style offense, maybe you just have a way to just
Remember,
incorporate him.
remember when Hassan Reddick almost killed Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship game?
Yep.
Remember the narrative of how can you have a tight end blocking Hassan Reddick and crippling? That was the whole point of the play, and the play action is you're trying to fool them, and it's on the quarterback to get that football out on time. And if he doesn't, the tight end's not going to get holed up. I think there's a lot of stuff. First of all, Kyle Shanahan to me is the best play schemer and play designer in the NFL by a wide margin. He's the Vic Fangio of offense, but he plays a completely different style of football than the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's play action based, more old school approach, which is part of the reason I like it. But I mean, there's a lot to that offense that you need more. I mean, for years there was always the conversation that Kyle wanted Kirk Cousins back from their days in Washington together. That's the Kyle Shanahan quarterback. That's what he wants. He wants the old school play action, accurate. I'm going to take down shots down the field. And then if you watch Brock Purdy last night, he's got some mobility. He made that nice play, extending the play. He's got a little bit more of that. But boy, if you're turning your back to the defense, that is something that takes years to master. The old play action style quarterback. I think people should be careful what they wish for when it comes to Kyle Shanahan. You can't just throw that in the middle of this offense and say, go. I just think it's not possible.
Yeah, you can't drop it in the middle of the season. You can build up some concepts and maybe have a package of stuff like that. Yeah, you can't drop because that's a whole thing with timing and calls and all that stuff. Yeah, I agree with you.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
How about that dig route when on the winning touchdown? I don't know if you watched the game last night, but the Bears started jumping the underneath routes because they were going to McCaffrey so much, and Songus, the tight end, and then he sucked them in and went to the dig route over the top. Boy, Eagles can't do that. Now, I'm not saying they can do it, but and they can't do that. They can't do that. They don't play that style of football, and it all has to do with the quarterback. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll disagree because I see also see this potential there with those throws. I know he's tough to talk about potential for you, but I look at that throw where he fit it in the first half, where he fit it in two receivers in the middle of that zone, and was it AJ or oh god, I forget which one, but when we go across the thing, I see it's there.
Devontae, I think it was Devontae. In first half he had like 3 throws that were tremendous, but they're different styles. I mean, that's a completely chemistry, timing, crossing over the middle of the field. You got to be comfortable layering the football. That's not his strength. But, when it comes to go routes, when it comes to the throws you're talking about, he makes some of the best throws in football. It's just a different style. I'm not even saying it's good or bad. I'm just arguing the fact that I don't think you can play a certain style of offense, and not that this offense can't beat that offense, because it can, it has, and it probably will, but it's going to look different is all I'm trying to say. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, unless you get 16 total yards in the second half.
Yeah. Well, Chris, the offense is obviously the big thing to talk about, but I'm of the belief that defense is good enough to keep you in any game. I know you watched 2 teams last night put up 40 points and back and forth, up and down, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. I think the Eagles defense dictate the personalities of games because of the way they play. And that, to me, is the reason I have confidence going into the postseason. How good is that Eagles defense to you?
I'll tell you what, you look at the difference Jalen Carter can make You look at the second level, even with Jahad Campbell replacing the Kobe Dean, and you look for four of those five defensive, or three of those five defensive backs, because Epps got picked on a little bit, and Adoree actually did okay until he had his spots for Adoree moments. It gives you enough confidence where you're like, you know what, they're gonna keep you in the games. They'll keep they'll keep you in games, and it's one of you can't say enough about Vic Fangio, because now I think, in my personal opinion, I think now he's in the conversation with Jim Johnson, and Jim Johnson stayed a little bit longer, or longer tenure than Fangio did. But you look at the output he's given, you look at what he's done to turn this defense around, you look at the numbers itself, it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. You see the way they're able to hold that, and I think you got to give a lot of credit to them as well too. But you look at now, you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle getting pressure. Jalen's Hunt, I mean,
How about that
he was
guy?
around the ball. He was around the ball the whole entire time.
Oh my
Like,
lord.
like, like
Is
somebody
he
lit up.
better than Nolan Smith now? I think he is.
I think he's at that point. I think he's at that point now. Because Nolan is like, you see the ups, and then you see it stagnant and go down. Like it's inconsistent in
No
a
one
way.
does a nice job setting the edge and stuff though. So I don't know how Jay
No,
looks.
I don't think Nolan's a bad player. I don't think
No, yeah,
that's
No, I'm not saying
I
he's
just
bad.
think Jalix Hunt has surpassed him. I really do.
yeah,
Um
especially the pass rush. The pass rush
yeah,
is the biggest
and
one.
mainly in the pass rush. To Xander's point, he's not the edge setter that Nolan Smith is, but as a pass rusher, he's surpassed him.
And the element is, and you see with Vic and his system, when you don't feel that, you don't hold your breath as much when with Vic, when those edge rushers have to go out and space out, like, oh, why is there edge rusher on the slot guy, even though he's, that's not, you like feel like if he has to go out in that little flat area in the pass coverage, he'll actually find a way to make a play. He's been that much of a guy where you look at like next, not only the rest of this year, but next year after that, he's only going to ascend, and you really have something. So that to be
And
able to
and
get the guy
and
to start pick like that.
I would also add that Jalen Phillips has been a revelation for this team. Um, his presence on the field has opened everything up for those other guys because he's the guy everybody's worried about on the edge as the pass rusher. So, um, now all of a sudden everybody falls into their. I always make the baseball rotation.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith wasn't an ace. Now they have an ace, and he can fall to number 2, and Jalix Hunt's number 3. Everything falls into place with Jalen Phillips. He's been great, great, and he got banged up a little bit, and I was like, oh boy, if they lose him, but luckily he was able to get back on the field, and he's playing that. He's the one who. By the way, did you think that was a fumble, Josh Allen? Because that changed the game.
Honestly, I saw the pass. It reminded me so much of a Tuckle, especially with his hand going down, like he had the ball in his hand and was
Yeah,
going down as he goes.
yeah.
And I was shocked. Well, the officiating, and I'm not saying that's the reason why that the officiating was bad yesterday, because it looked like when he saw AJ's arm, he was being held like White was holding his arm like he was taking him to prom and they were ready to go inside for prom pictures. I'm like, what's going on with this? Like, it's just bad. And that, but yeah, it was. I looked at him and he was just the way it was a Tuckle, and he looked like it was going down forward. And they caught a break there. They caught a big break.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna overrule that. I really did, but yeah, that was a break, and it did shift the momentum. The Eagles took advantage of the short field. They scored, um, and they really, took the 13-0 lead once that happened. They did to me get a little bit more conservative. Um, Maybe it was the weather, but I did notice that John Clark, um, our buddy from NBC Sports Philadelphia, captured a clip. I guess it was from Hard Knocks, where Nick was hammering home the team's record with the turnover ratio, whatever it is, 41-2, whatever that gaudy number is. Have they gotten too obsessed with that? Because they are really a risk-averse team when they get leads. And that might come back to haunt you at some point in the NFL if you get that risk-averse. Is that part of the problem?
No, I think it's all right. It's a matter of I think it's tough to be on that field for so long and to have those stops or those long drop those short as much as they do, especially in the second half, because it's almost ways in reverse. Like, all right, you're trying to get the offense to play well enough so they get the rest early so they can be on the field so long for later on. It's messed up, but no, I think it's all right. I mean, you're seeing the fruits of their labor. We all see those car wash type drills they do when they're all out there in
Yeah.
training camp all the way through, and they still do it through the whole entire week, the week leading up to it. So, yeah, I don't think I think it's a good mentality to do, because we see so many teams just go like, "Oh, we'll just turn it over when we have a chance," or "We'll try to get it." They're coming like, "We'll try to get it. We'll try to do that." Oh, I saw that on film, the peanut punch. I'll just punch a guy and see if maybe the ball comes out. If I hit his arm, who cares? But no, I think the focus on it is warranted, and when you have it's almost like it seeps in, like in that deep conscious, when you continue to hear it over and over and over again, you get tired of hearing like, yeah, we know, but in a way, you start to go like, it starts to grain like, when you don't even talk it now, it's like, okay, we know we have to do this or that. The eagle, things, the eagle claw and the punching and trying
Yeah.
to pick.
The big,
Yeah,
yeah. I
it
just
comes in.
retweeted it for everybody who wants to see it. So Nick's got this giant thing up in the auditorium. Says at the top, the ball, turnover battle, 41-2 when he's talking about the Eagles, obviously, win the turnover battle. 35-6 when they don't turn it over, 0 giveaways. 53-14 with 1 or more takeaways. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. They're unbelievable when they take care of the football, but I do think it does contribute to some of these awful offensive stretches, because I do think they get too conservative. But it's a fine line. I mean, the one time they tried to push it against the Chargers, and all of a sudden they have 5 turnovers, 2 on 1 play.
Yeah, that's gonna be down there for me for that one too. Yeah, I think it's more of just a thing of they just try to get conservative overall. Like, once they get out with a lead, okay, let's get out of there. Like, I don't think it's so much like the service. Like, it's almost like, hey, you know what? Okay, we're up 13. Is how much time we got? Oh, we got 12 minutes in the third quarter. Okay, let's just salt it away. Try to get out of there as much as we can, and we'll just live. I can't speak today. Learn to live another day. That's what. So I think it's one of those things.
Would it have been, in a weird way, would it have been good if Josh Allen completes that 2-point conversion?
No, not at all. No, because even then, because
If
I
it
still
makes you think, God damn, we got too conservative.
no,
We shouldn't have lost this game.
no, I think they'll look at that later on and say stressor, because the last thing you want to do, because you look at it next week, if they start to see like halfway through they can't get that, if they can't get the 2 seed, they're going to sit back and just pull those guys. The last thing you want to do in a full game, knowing that the last time for sure you're going to be playing that whole entire game, you want to go into the playoffs with as much momentum as you can, and to lose it in that type of fashion, that's the type of loss where you start to that could really linger on, not just one game but for 2. And we know the second
Well,
game is going to be
it's never good. I probably worded that. It's never good if you lose, but silver lining is what I should have said.
Yeah, right.
If it wakes you up and says, man, we got way too conservative, maybe that helps in the playoffs, is what I was trying to say.
I think
Worded better.
that situation they were in, no matter what, knowing that they had to get, like, it came to that pass going wide, I think that was enough to go, ooh, there's a little more clinching going on right now. Like, you got to fix this soon, because it's going to be a quick exit if they don't. I think no matter what, the way that fourth quarter, especially the way that turned out, I think that was enough to go, yeah, fix this stuff right now, because you don't want to be in Cancun this early this year.
Let's see what happens. Chris, good stuff, man. Appreciate you joining in today. Let's see what this Eagles team does in the playoffs. Obviously, just a couple of weeks out now from there. We appreciate you joining in today, Chris. Make sure you guys follow him at C. Franklin News. Chris, good stuff, man. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother?
Talk to you later. Happy New Year's, everybody. Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, happy New Year, man. Thank you, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to Chris Franklin, one of the best in the business.
No doubt. Good little back and forth between you two there. I mean, just two guys who know what they're talking about, going back and forth. I liked it, enjoyed it. Good stuff there. Appreciate Chris Franklin for doing it today. John, I'll tell you what, I'm thinking about that question you just asked Chris there at the end about not I know what you meant. Not that it would have been good to lose the game, but would it have forced you to change? And my take is no, it wouldn't. I mean, John, you look at this graphic, you tweeted it up. They're 41-2 when we win the turnover battle. 35-6 with 0 giveaways. So hypothetically, the number would have been 41-3 and 35-7. Still too big of a sample size for them to change up what they're doing based off that game. But
yeah, I agree. Ultimately, I just threw it out there because I do think it highlights, the margin of error, which I talk about a lot, how small it is.
Yeah.
And then the other part I thought was interesting, which Chris and I disagree with. Look, I don't think you can force teams to play coverage on the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see it. And I'm talking about consistently. When they shifted, when the Chiefs had Tyreek Hill and the whole league shifted and said, all right, we're just going to play the safeties in the parking lot.
Yeah, right.
You can't force people to do that if they don't think that's the way to beat you. They're trying to beat you ultimately. And there's some great defensive coordinators and there's some bad defensive coordinators, and most of them are in between. But most of them believe that the best way to beat the Philadelphia Eagles is to stop Saquon Barkley. And that's not going to stop.
Spags used to say the best way is to stop A.J. Brown.
I don't know what Spags said, but he wasn't playing to stop A.J. Brown.
No, he wasn't.
And he made some nice comments about Jalen Hurts. What he said about Jalen Hurts after the Super Bowl was like, we do everything right, he still makes a play, basically, paraphrasing.
Which Jalen does do, man. He can break the pocket and make a play. There's no doubt.
And there's a lot of positives to that, as there were in the first half yesterday. He was killing the Bills that way. There's a lot of positives to that. But I don't see anybody. And again, Flores is unique, but he's one of the best defensive coordinators. B, the Eagles gouged him this year, and he still wouldn't come out and play coverage to the last play of the game, essentially, with AJ running the slant and go on Isaiah Rodgers, our old buddy, to the last play. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't come out of it because he was too concerned about the other stuff.
Yeah, right.
Now that's might be an extreme example, but in general, it holds up. That's how most people are going to play the Eagles.
No doubt about it. Good stuff. Got a couple super chats to wrap it up here, John. Miguel, what's up, Miguel? Laura, appreciate you for being here, man. He says, good morning, fellas. John, who are you taking if Philly has to fly in and play the 49ers? I honestly like our chances comfortably.
I don't. The 49ers might be the least scary team of the group.
I understand why. I think because
I love Kyle Shanahan.
But
I love
Kyle playing really good football. They've embodied that next man up for sure.
I don't think they have the horses on defense, and I think if you stop McCaffrey, and I think the Eagles can, you stop their offense. And plus, he's banged up. He's touched it a shitload this year.
Yes, he has.
I think they are tailor-made to be beaten.
I don't know what. I guess if the 49ers beat the Seahawks, then that would be the scenario we would fly there. I mean, they'd have to get the 1 seed for us to fly there because we wouldn't in every other scenario, they would.
And they might beat the Seahawks, but because boy, this is, the Eagles run this in the Sirianni era. This is the worst, in my opinion. This is the worst group of playoff teams in this era, in my opinion. Like, I think Detroit was worlds better than whoever's going to get the number one seed this year. I mean, by leaps and bounds, and they didn't even get to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and were the Packers better that last year or this year?
Well,
the Eagles road last year was Packers, Rams, Commanders, and then Chiefs. Commanders, you could argue, were kind of a gift. I mean, in a way.
Yeah, the Commanders were a gift. I think the Rams are slightly better. I think the Packers are worse. The Packers would have been better. Micah was there, but now they're worse.
They've had a couple other injuries too, haven't they?
Yeah, they have a ton of injuries.
Yeah, they got a bunch.
On. So the Packers are worse. The Rams are slightly better. They got a break with the Commanders, so you're probably not going to get that break. So that game's going to be a little bit tougher. And then the Super Bowl, which I ended up being right. I thought that was the beginning of the end for the Chiefs. The Chiefs weren't a good team. They were a good team, but not a great team. So that might even be tougher. So the road might be tougher, but the teams are worse. And I know people aren't going to understand that, but the favorites will probably win. So the teams will be slightly better, but the overall group is worse, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes some sense to me. I mean, I don't quite think it's as big of a drop as you do. Like, I think the Rams are, obviously, you just mentioned, they're a great team. Seattle, I think it's, to me, if my predictions come true, and that there's no guarantee they do, by the way, I think Seattle's coming to Philly for the wild card. I think the Rams.
Well, all right. Well, then that's a perfect example. I think Detroit was much better than San Francisco. Detroit last year.
Well, remember, they did have a boatload of injuries, John.
So does San Francisco.
No, that's true. That's true.
Much better. I think Minnesota last year was better than Seattle this year. And they never got to that point because they lost to the Rams. I think the Rams are, as I said, slightly better. I think Green Bay slightly worse, but because of injuries. Otherwise, they would have been better. San Francisco's the worst of first team. That's kind of a mirage because, I mean, and by the way, I'd speak completely different if Fred Warner was there and Nick Bosa was there, but they're not.
They have beat some pretty good teams this year. I know their schedule wasn't great, but they have had some solid wins this year for sure.
Well, the NFC West is basically the NFC North last year. That's what they are.
Right.
And I think the NFC North last year was better than the NFC West this year. But it's all just one man's opinion. I think this group is, boy, if San Francisco's the best team in the NFC, if they're the number one seed, they're not even close to Detroit last year. Not even in the same spectrum. Not even the same realm.
Yeah. Eagles have a good chance, man. I agree with. And the other thing, obviously, is playoff football is about defense, and running the football. And running the football is a question still with the Birds, but that defense is fucking nasty good, man. That Eagles defense is really amazing. So,
and by the way, to be fair, the Eagles were better last year than they are this year, so they're part of it too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That defense, though, man, I think that defense will keep us in every single game. The question will be if the offense makes the plays they need to. They've had an ability to do that. They've also not done that in some areas. So we'll see what they end up doing. But the defense will keep you in every game. Joshua says, John owes KP money. He's the one person he won't criticize.
I criticize him all the time. People hear what they want to hear. I think you guys put too much emphasis on his impact on the team. That's what I think. I think you think he's sitting there in a video game controlling the players, and it's on his shoulders if they're successful or unsuccessful. And I think that's ludicrous. And I think every narrative, and Chris, I have a ton of respect for, but again, in the Nick Sirianni era, and I've been there every single day for every single coordinator, they have never made more adjustments. Not because Kevin Patullo is better than anybody else, but because they've needed to make more adjustments. They've been forced to make more adjustments. That's why I hate that word, because it happens constantly. And they've been forced to go under center because the shit that they used to do well that worked wasn't working.
Right.
So they've been forced to do different things. The red zone stuff has been the most creative of the Nick Sirianni era. Watch the games.
No, it has, but the red zone's not the only thing. I mean, I'm
It's
kind
not the only
I'm kind of in the
thing.
middle on it. Like I get what you're saying. I think people go too far with it, but I also don't think Kevin Patullo has done a great job at giving this team a competitive advantage from a play caller standpoint. I don't, and I think you get that with other teams in the NFC. You get that with McVay, and I'm not trying to compare Patullo to those guys. Those are established, great play callers, but I just don't see that with Patullo at all. And that's not to say he's the reason the offense sucks.
Well,
But I don't know if you get any sort of advantage.
to the point, that's why I brought up what I brought up with Chris. All right, because I get why people think the way that he thinks, and I get why people think the way the fans think. Well, just set up because the run's not effective. Just set up the run better with the pass. I get that. I get that's the natural, and again, low-hanging fruit. But if opposing defenses come in with the mentality of, I do not give a shit if Jalen Hurts beats me throwing the football, how do you make them come out of that? I'm going to stop Saquon Barkley. I don't care what you think. What I think is if I stop Saquon Barkley, I have a better chance to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. If they come in with that mindset, and 90% of them have come in with that mindset, how do you get them to stop that mindset? It's just pie in the sky bullshit, video game bullshit.
You know what royally pissed me off yesterday, John? I will criticize Patullo. Yesterday, it is torrential downpouring to start the game. Torrential. I mean, you can see it on the TV cameras. And they start the game with 3 straight pass plays. Now, I get it. You mess up the first one, and the whole script is thrown out because you're now behind the sticks. But why? Why? Why do that? Why do you come into Buffalo in torrential downpour and then just throw the ball 3 straight times? Like, that to me is just stupid. But I get it. It is what it is.
Well, Nick Sirianni was asked the question on whatever day it was. I get mixed up. He was asked the weather question, and he was asked, what's more difficult? Might have been Wednesday. I don't know what day it was, but what's more difficult? Rain, snow, wind? And he said, offense has, which I've told people many times, not because of me, because that's what I've been told by coaches. Offenses have the advantage in the rain. It's not only the belief of Nick Sirianni, it's the belief of everybody.
Well, yeah, it's like an offensive line, run protection versus pass protection. Pass protection, you're going backwards. Run protection, you're going forward. Offense, you're moving
now
forward.
Wind is different. Wind, defense has the advantage. The belief is you have the advantage, and that's why they probably tried to fake them out early in the game, but it doesn't matter. I mean, how many times did Buffalo end up dropping in that game to pass the football? However, it's also because they're down and the sense of urgency was increased. So they end up dropping 35 times. The Eagles only dropped 27 times, partially because they're ineffective throwing the football. Or at least they were in this game. And that's the consistently inconsistent part. Sometimes they're effective throwing the ball, sometimes they're not.
Right.
Well, but the biggest problem where I think everybody is missing is that you can't force the opposition into what you want them to do based on your thought process. And they are clearly saying, I got to stop Saquon Barkley. And if Jalen Hurts beats me, Jalen Hurts beats me. And until Eagles fans can accept that's what's going on, and that's the difficult conversation you have to have that people don't want to have. You can't just go to the next defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, even a week 18 meaningless game, and say, play this way.
Right.
Can't do it.
All right, we're over here. Let me get these final thoughts out from you, John. Sig Lord says, with this defense, we could beat any team if the offense just played mediocre for 4 full quarters. Is that too much to ask for? Sig, I agree, man. That's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the greatest show on turf. I mean, you know.
Get a first down. They're usually pretty efficient when they get a first
My
down.
favorite point that you make, John, is the layup point. I mean, Jalen has 0 completions in the second half. Get him a fucking layup.
Well, I think if you want to start the criticism, start it there.
I mean, I don't understand why they
There's
don't.
plenty of things to criticize. I just think people go to a point where it just makes no sense, the criticism. The adjustments, you got to make adjustments. They make too many goddamn adjustments because they have to.
All right, let's see what happens this week. All right, John, what's on the agenda this week for this team? They got week 18 coming up to close the season. You got New Year's. What's on the agenda today and then for the week for this team?
Today, Nick Sirianni will be having a Zoom. And then I don't know. I'll get the schedule because you still have the holiday, New Year's Day. I don't think they'll give that much of a you-know-what about that, but can't say for sure. Should be a regular week. Tuesday coordinators, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice, but we'll see how it shakes out.
Yep, that's good stuff there. John, your final thought. Here we go, real quick. One more super. Pumper says the Eagles are a better defense when Jalen Carter is on his bully shit. Buddy is a menace, and we need that. I agree with that. You need some mean dudes.
Obviously, if Jalen Carter's healthy, I mean, he makes a huge difference. And he looked healthy-ish. He's not going to be fully healthy, but looked a lot better than before he sat.
I assume the management on him is basically nothing throughout the week. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the the rest.
No, he practiced all week last week.
Okay,
so
good.
They weren't managing.
All right, that's good. It's good to know. We'll see what happens with him, but there's no doubt, Pump. He is a beast for sure. All right, John, your final thoughts here on a Monday edition. Eagles get the win in Buffalo, John, late in December, 13-12, and in very Eagle fashion. They do it in a way that gives Philadelphia a lot of ammo, John, to talk about.
Yeah. Ugly win, but it's not college. So, knock down the pin and move on. And we'll see if they can get the number 2 seed. Unfortunately, it's out of your hands. That's part of the problem. Got to root for Detroit, and who knows what they're going to do. So, a lot of eyes on Allen Park, Michigan, and to see what the Lions are going to do this week as far as who they're going to play, who they're not going to play.
Yeah, right.
Because they can beat the Bears if they play.
Oh,
they can beat the Bears.
Yeah, they can beat the Bears. Has that Bears team won you over a little bit?
No.
No? You still don't think so?
Well, yes and no. I think they've done a wonderful job. They're much.
I gotta take a little bit of kudos. Me and you were debating about the Bears team all summer.
No, well, I think it was basically dereliction of duty to take Caleb Williams number 1 and still go with Matt Eberflus as the head coach.
Which you were right about, yeah.
And to get him with Ben Johnson has been unbelievable. And they're getting better, and they're finally going in the right direction, and it's been a long time. So they deserve a ton of credit. They won a very difficult division, even on a down year for Detroit, Minnesota. That is a very difficult division. So they deserve a lot of credit, but are they a legitimate Super Bowl contender? I don't think so.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I don't either.
It's just step one, and that's just part of it. You got to go through it and learn from some of the things you do wrong. And I think Caleb Williams is going to learn. He's going to get better, and he's going to get better. Tremendous talent, but yeah, I don't think they're ready to be a Super Bowl team.
No, me neither. John, good stuff, man. Appreciate the extended time here on Birds 365. Good win yesterday. We'll be listening to you, talking to Nick today, brother. Thank you, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, thanks all.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, joining us right here on Birds 365. Make sure you follow him at JF McMullen, the number one Eagles beat reporter in town. Appreciate all you guys for being here yesterday. I'm at the point in the season, everybody, where I'm not going to sit here and fucking bitch about the damn offense. I know it was ugly as heck yesterday. What do you want? What are we going to do? All right, you win versus Buffalo in Buffalo. Yeah, catch, it was a good win. All right, regardless of what you have to say, it was a good win. You go to Buffalo late in December on the road in a thunderstorm, all right, versus one of the better teams in football, and you win the football game. All right. Aesthetically, yeah, it wasn't a great win. It was a good win, though, in the grand scheme of things. It's a good win for the Birds. It's a good win for the Birds. The fans might not have confidence coming out of that win. I bet you the team takes confidence from that win, though. All right. I bet you the team has more confidence from that win. The fans might not, but I think the team does. I think the team does. All right. It's a good win versus a good team, a great quarterback. And the defense, man, the defense is amazing. The defense is truly amazing on this football team. What Vic Fangio has done, what the players have done, you got to give the players credit. I know we love to give Vic his credit, but at the end of the day, you got to give players credit here too. John likes to say, "Oh, it's not Petula's fault." Well, let's keep the same energy then on the defensive side. All right, good coordinator, but those players are playing, man. Those Jalix Hunt, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalen Phillips. I mean, Cooper and Quinion are like, these dudes are like seasoned vets. I mean, they can't be got. And by the way, the one catch on Quinion Mitchell down the field didn't even look like a catch to me. It really didn't. I saw the replay. To me, it looks like that ball hits the turf. Whatever. It ultimately was ruled a catch. But Quinion and Coop are unbelievable. By the way, I saw a take in the chat earlier. I meant to pull it up. But it was going so quick. It was early in the show. One of the better takes. Cooper DeJean has rubbed off on Reed Blankenship. Does anybody agree with that? Cooper DeJean has rubbed off on Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is all of a sudden hitting like a madman. He's out there laying dudes out in the open field. So I think that defense is just in such a good spot. I know, guys, a lot of you are not happy with the offense. I don't think the offense is all that great either. But when you have a defense that does that to teams, you're going to be in every single football game. Doesn't matter who you play. The defense dictates how games are played. That was the lowest point output the Buffalo Bills have had all year long. The Eagles said, hey, we play ugly football. We're going to make you play ugly football too. All right? I think the Eagles team can beat anybody. I really do. I understand why some people think they're not going to go far in the playoffs. I don't agree. I don't agree because that defense can dictate every game. And if the crunch time shows up and the offense doesn't make the plays it needs to, then all right, you'll be proven right. All of you will be proven right. But I have seen a litany of evidence in the past, in the last 4 years, where when the moments get the biggest, the offense makes the plays they need to make. We've never been an offensive team in the last 4 years. We've never been the best offensive team. We've never been built like the Rams. We've never been built like any of these other teams that rely on offense week in and week out. Hogan's in here talking a big game. Hogan, your defense can't stop a fucking nosebleed. The Chicago Bears went up and down the field on you all fucking night. Was there any punts in that game last night? That's not playoff football. That's fun football. That's not playoff football. I get it. The Eagles offense isn't great, but the defense is so damn great. Can we get the 3, 4, 5 plays a game you need from the offense to win the game? I think you can. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say to you, okay, the offense is about to become the greatest show on turf. No, they're not. 3 to 5 moments in a game. 3 to 5 moments for the offense. Will Jalen Hurts, will the offense make those plays? They have in the past. There's been moments where they didn't, but they have in the past, especially in the big moments. With this defense playing like this, with the NFC playoff looking like this, I'm not counting the Eagles out until they're out. All right? I'm not. There's just no way I can. There's no logic that you can sell me that I should. All right? I understand a lot of people are completely out. I mean, the amount of times I get people, it's funny. It's funny. The Jalenites, I guess we'll call them, the Jalenites, the people who think there's no wrong ever with the team or the Eagles or the offense or whatever, they tell me I'm a hater for a fan. I'm a fake fan because I'm critical of the team sometimes. And then you have the other side of the people who, can't be pleased no matter what the fuck happens. 5 straight playoff appearances and they want their ass to be wiped for them too. It's like ridiculous. Those people say I'm a glazed donut. To me, I'm right in the middle. I'm right where I got to be. All right. When they play bad, yeah, you talk about that. When they play good, you talk about that. All in all, the defense is dominant and defense wins championships. Defense is what playoff football thrives on. Not 42 points for the Niners on the Bears in week 17. That's not playoff football. I get it. It was a fun game last night. I loved watching that game. In fact, I was glued to the TV after I got off the postgame show. Caleb Williams is a fucking stud. That kid, if Ben Johnson teaches that kid to play football, that motherfucker can throw. I mean, that kid's arm is incredible. I mean, it's like a flick of the wrist. It's a cannon. I mean, he makes these downfield throws. That one throw, I know everybody's talking about the 2 touchdown throws. That one throw, I forget who. I think it was Loveland streaking up the left sideline. He put that ball on a rope. On a rope. That was such a damn good throw, man. But, again, that team's defense sucks. The 49ers defense sucks. I mean, they pan over to Robert Saleh standing there like this. I'm like, Robert, what are you so focused on? You haven't gotten a fucking stop all game. You haven't gotten a stop all game. I mean, but yeah, Hogan, I know you're excited about your squad. Look, it's a great year for them. All right, it is. To lose the guys they've lost and to be where they are, no doubt. But if you can't stop anybody, dude, you're not going to the Super Bowl. You got no defense. And the Bears don't either. So, the Eagles defense is damn good, and that's where my confidence is derived from with this team. All right. Here, let's go to some super chats. Appreciate all the super chats this morning. All right, good win yesterday. I know, believe me, I was there for a second too. Trying to talk myself and saying that was not a good win. Fuck that. All right, we're past that point. It's not week 8 anymore. It's not time to sit here and say, oh, we can't win this way. Oh, the offense. Screw that. It's week 17. We're already locked into the playoffs. We've secured our position. We're probably going to be the 2 or the 3 seed. Most likely the 3, but could be the 2 if the Bears lose. And we just beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo late in December. Yeah, it was ugly. Who gives a shit? Paulie B says, minus the 2 50-50 balls in the hook and lateral, Buffalo didn't do anything. Agreed. And the 2-point conversion, Josh's clock was sped. The O has to be better. Maybe the first half is a better indicator of what we can do. Well, that's definitely what we can do. The question there is more about consistency on offense. But I completely agree with you. I mean, the defense was so good in that game. And remember, Paulie B, in the first half, they had that huge completion downfield to Cooks. They fumbled right after that. So they ultimately never did anything. I mean, if you take away that first completion in the first, I think it was a 50-yard completion. They had 60 yards in the first half. They had 110 yards in the first half total, and they had that 50-yard completion that they didn't do anything with. The defense was as good as the defense was to the eye, and as much as people say they see how good the defense is, I don't know if they're comprehending how good this defense is. This defense is unbelievable. Every single game, we will be right in it. It doesn't matter if our offense has 2 straight halves of that type of game. They only gave up 12 points, and both of them came on the final 2 drives. I mean, Curtis says, Xander's version of optimism is to say, yeah, the offense sucks. I know it sucks. I'm just going to stop thinking about it and focus on the defense. Well, Curtis, let me ask you then. What wins championships? What's a better thing to have in the postseason? Let's say, Curtis, you be the coach. You be the GM. What would you rather have going into the postseason? A great offense and a shitty defense, or a great defense and a shitty offense? Curtis, you tell me. Because you're trying to paint it out like I have some sort of blind optimism. That's not what it is. You can call it that all you want because you want to be right about the offense being the problem and the offense being the reason they lose. That's fine. You want to be right. I get it. I don't care if I'm right at all. I don't give a shit. If they get bounced, so be it. I'll have to admit I'm wrong. If they win it all, so be it. It is what it is. Some of you will be wrong. Who gives a shit? They won the Super Bowl. Defense wins Super Bowls. Defense is a better thing to have in the postseason, in my opinion. That's what I'd rather have. If I can pick one, I'd rather have a great defense. Doesn't mean the offense is not under-delivering. They are under-delivering. They are underperforming. But all things considered, this team's going to keep us in. That defense is going to keep us in every game. Again, you win in Buffalo late in December. That's a miserable place to play. It's a hard place to play. One piece of that defense breaks, then what? Yeah, well, could have what? What if? What if this? What if that? Yeah, catch. And what if the offense explodes for 40 points like they did in the playoffs last year? You want to play the what if game? I'll go 100 different roads with you. That's a stupid game to play. What if? Then what? What happens here? Oh, what happens here? What does that mean? What if? Well, then what? Your favorite underrated. What's up, brother? Appreciate the $5 super chat. Shout out to Marcus Epps, too. That man out there hitting like back in 22. Yeah, he still does, man. He still can lay a big hit. There's no doubt about it. I think Marcus Epps has done a nice job, man. I think Marcus Epps has done a pretty good job in there. I know he's not the best in coverage, but great in run support, physical player. I think brings a nice needed, element to the secondary. I mean, think about Gardner Johnson and the loss of him last year. He wasn't great in coverage either. Now, he wasn't maybe as bad as Epps. I don't know. It's tough to say because Epps hasn't played that many games. But, CJ brought that physicality. CJ brought that, you knew that presence was there. You remember the one play last year, 4th and short, I think it was, and boom, CJ meets him in the hole and fucking drills the running back. I think Marcus kind of brings that type of pedigree in terms of physicality to the defense. That's needed for me. Defensive football, you got to be mean. That's why I like Jalen Carter. I know Jalen Carter can sometimes come across as undisciplined and, he's got to get his act together, got to be more mature, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, when you're a mean motherfucker, that can go a long way for you in defensive football. At least I think. Here's Kyle. What's up, Kyle? Xander, how long was I talking about trading for Jalen Phillips? He's been the linchpin on defense. Kyle, I don't remember how long you were talking about it, but there's no doubt the addition of Jalen Phillips has really done a lot for this defense. Really opened up, how good they are in the line at the line of scrimmage. Jalix Hunt has come alive back in that number 3 spot. Maybe even, I don't want to say he's better than Nolan yet. I think he's made more splash plays than Nolan, but Nolan does provide the nice edge setting. He gets pressure. I don't know what his pressure rate is. I think it's pretty high, but good edge setter, kind of plays that. He does the fundamentals of the edge better than Jalix to me, but Jalix has that, that big playability because he's got such great speed and athleticism that he can get to the quarterback. I think he had 2 sacks yesterday. I think he's up to 6.5 on the year, leader in the clubhouse for the Eagles. So, Kyle, it's really been a great trade, man. I hope they pay Jalen Phillips as well. Here's T-Time. What's up, T-Time? Appreciate you, brother. Jalix Hunt got 6.5 sacks. There you go. 2 forced fumbles, 2 ints, a touchdown, 55 pressures. Is that the stat line for that guy? Holy shit, man. Holy shit. 2 forced fumbles, 2 picks, a touchdown, and 55 pressures. I wouldn't be surprised if if he was the leader on the team in pressures. Can somebody check that for me? Is Jalix Hunt leading the team in pressures? Whew, man. 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 ints, a touchdown, 55 pressures. Watching his college tape, you can see how much coaching plays a role because he did not show this in college. Well, remember, he was a safety early, T-Time. He was a safety early, so now that he's gotten with Vic and he's kind of learned how to play that edge, and he's much more built now. He's got the length, he's got the size needed to play that position. You add in that ability that he had previously of playing safety, coverage, speed, athleticism. It's really coming together for him. It's really coming together for him. So it is Hunt. Yeah, so that's amazing, man. That's amazing. To lead a team in pressures for him. Boy, I tell you what, man, we got some guys on this defense, don't we? They're gonna have to pay some of these guys, man. Here's Paulie B. What's up, Paulie? My wife's from Buffalo. In-laws are season ticket holders since 1960, and yesterday was my daughter's B-Day. It was a tense but Paulie, were you there? Were you at the game? Because that's pretty awesome. By the way, happy birthday to your daughter. All right, and I'm sorry your in-laws are from Buffalo. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry your in-laws are from Buffalo. I tell you what, that's a kick-ass stadium. It's a tough place to play. There's no doubt. No doubt. So, look, I think there's reason to be optimistic on this team. I understand everybody. I'm from Philly too. I like to be miserable too. I understand you. I understand you miserable fucks. All right? I'm like you too. I'll be miserable about it too. But we're past the point of the season where we're going to sit here and dissect every part of they could do this, or they could do this, and they should do this, and they aren't doing that, and Jalen should do this, and Petulo should do this, and Nick should. We're past that, man. All right, the team's 11-5. Team's probably going to finish 12-5. Team's in the postseason. All right, team's got a home playoff game in Philadelphia in the postseason. Okay? Beat who's in front of you. Beat who's in front of you. I love people that say to me, Zander, you're gonna lose in the postseason because of how it looks. Well, why don't we just lose to the Bills then? Why don't we just lose to the Bills? Can someone tell me why we didn't just lose to the Bills? Isn't that the perfect team that would make you pay for 0 passing yards and a half of football? The best second half team in the NFL this year. The best quarterback in football, Josh Allen. The 4th overall offense in football. Isn't that the team that would make you pay for 0 completions in the second half? They didn't. That's my point. Eagles won the game still. Why does anybody think we're going to get into a playoff game and it might be different? It could be. You're going to be in every game. You're going to be in every game. You're going to be in every game. There's always a reason, Brick City. There's always a reason why people say we're going to lose. Believe me, I've been there. I've been there. And get ready. Here come all the comments. Yeah, there's a glazed donut again. Yeah, I know. I'm a glazed donut. I know. Here's what I do know. The Eagles have a home playoff game in January. The Eagles are in the playoffs for the 5th straight year. And the Eagles have the best defense of anybody in the postseason. I mean, I'd rather have a great defense going into the postseason than a great offense. I've already said that. No, I do not think Petulo is a great offensive coordinator. No, I do not. I don't think he's as bad as some people think, but I don't think he's great. I think he's learning on the job, and it's really hurt the team. But Remember, that offense has more problems than just Petula. All right. And that offense had quite a bit of problems last year too, Catch. Was it Kellen Moore? It's not all Petula. Not all Petula. But my optimism is derived from the defense, not the offense. The offense just has to make 3 to 5 plays that come in the game. The 3 to 5 plays that you can make that break a team's back. Make those plays. You don't got to be the greatest show on turf. You don't got to be any of those things. You don't have to be what me or Curtis or Catch or Nat or Houston or Gary or what anybody or Kyle, whatever anybody wants. You don't have to be that. Forget that. What Pumper, Underdog, whatever anybody wants. You don't have to be that. Make the 3 to 5 plays in the game when they come. Make those plays. The defense will slow down the other teams. You'll be in a position to win every single game. Big Mike, what's up, brother? Member for 2 months. Thank you, Big Mike. In the playoffs, I'll take our EBT defense with us to win us a Super Bowl over our $240 million offense. Me too, Mike. Me too, brother. Here's Curtis. What's up, Curtis? Xander, I don't give a shit about being wrong. I hope I'm wrong when we get to the bowl. I don't want to be right about this one, about being one and done. Well, Curtis, I agree with you. Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair. I'm not saying that you – yeah, I mean, Curtis, sometimes I just use you as a sounding board. You know, sometimes I pick a name in the chat and I take up an opinion and then I run with it, all right? It's good content, Curtis, all right? So, no, I wasn't trying to pick on you, but, yeah, I feel good about the defense. I really do, you know? An autopsy of the second half. Well, it is. Yeah, I agree, Kat. I'm not saying nothing's wrong, brother. I'm not saying nothing's wrong. The offense obviously is wrong. Something wrong. I mean, they had 16 yards in the second half of football. But, again, this is my point. Like, is that the extreme? Answer me this. Is that the extreme where you have 16 yards and a half and 0 completions? Is that as bad as it will get in a half of football? Is that the extreme? You know, there's extremes both ways where you have a perfect passer rating on one side, and then you have fucking 0 completions in a half of football on the other side. To me, yesterday in the second half was the extreme on the other end. Brutal, 0 offense, 16 total yards, 5 straight punts, 4 straight 3-and-outs to finish the game, and 0 completions. Okay, so that's the extreme low. And they still win the game versus one of the best offenses in football in their home, in Buffalo. One of the this isn't SoFi. It's one of the toughest places to play. So if you win in that extreme, why can't we win in every other extreme? You guys get what I'm saying here? Yeah, and I don't want to hear from Jalenites. I want to hear from people who think we're going to be one and done. Do you get what I'm saying? Catch, you've been crying all morning. Catch, you cry in this chat maybe more than anybody now. I mean, if you do that in a game versus Buffalo in their home and you still win the fucking game, I don't know how people can't say, well, we can beat anybody. Sure, you can lose to anybody, but I got news. If the offense was humming, you could still lose to anybody. Sure, Xander. Yep, I've seen a few UFOs. Hogan, I know you're all jacked up because Brock Purdy's out there juking out the fenders, running into the end zone, doing all these things that you've never seen Brock Purdy do. I get it. You woke up in a high. That was a fun game last night for your 49ers. Your defense flat out stinks. Your defense flat out stinks. They stink. That defense blows. Was there a single Bears punt last night? Or Niners punt? Did anybody punt in the game last night? Was there a single punt in the game? I gotta look this up. All right, the Bears did punt in the first quarter. All right, there were some punts. Not many, but there were some punts. The 49ers had 1 punt. No, they had 2 punts. Bears had 3 punts. All right, so there were some punts. All right. Your defense blows. All right. It's the time of the year. It's time of the year for Eagles fans. To rally the team. It's not the time of the year to complain about the changes you want to see. You don't make changes in week 17 of the football season. We got a home playoff game. That's where we are. I get it, Theo. I know we're playing with fire. I'm not saying we're not playing with fire. But you can still win playing with fire. All right? Doesn't mean you're always going to get burned. You could, but you could lose any game in the NFL. That's how it goes. Zander, calm down. Hogan. Dude, your defense blows, Hogan. I know you don't want to admit it. Your defense stinks. They stink. And by the way, on the final play, I think Caleb should have went to Swift in the flat. I know he had a guy over there he would have had a beat, but anybody ever seen Swift one-on-one in space? That guy DeAndre Swift doesn't get tackled off in an open space. One-on-one, I think he would have put a move in that corner and got to the end zone. He didn't see him, didn't go to him, and he tried to make a play. But yeah, you're right. Bryce Huff did get some pressure on him there. Almost got him down. So Chuck agreed. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I know, Chuck. Don't I know it, man? But I feel pretty good about the Eagles today. I know the offense is ugly, but the funniest part is is this new? It's not like you woke up this Monday morning and were like, "Wow, I've had an epiphany. The Eagles' offense sucks." We've been talking about this for fucking 14 weeks. The offense has sucked all year. It is what it is. Here's Kimberly. We need to start drafting offense and pay defense. I agree, Kimberly. Well, Kimberly, that's probably how it's going to be dictated. I think that's how it's going to be. I mean, think about this defense. I mean, you're going to pay Carter. You're going to pay Davis. You're going to pay Jalen Phillips. You got Cooper and Quinion. You got, Bond's already paid. You got Jahad Campbell coming up the pipeline. I don't think Nakobe Dean's going to get paid ultimately just because of – I think Campbell's just a good enough player. I don't think they're going to pay Nakobe. As much as I like Nakobe, I don't think they're going to pay him, but maybe. There's a lot of dudes to pay there. I mean, Cooper is going to be paid big money. Quinion's going to be paid huge money. It's amazing how good those two guys are, man. I hope they both make All-Pro. I think they're both deserving of All-Pro. I think Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are both All-Pro players, not just Pro Bowlers. All right. Well, all right, guys. Good show today, man. Appreciate all you guys being here. I know. Philly loves to be miserable. I've lived here all my life. I know we love to be miserable. I'm not going to be miserable. I'm not. Let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. Let the chips fall where they may. Offense, not so great. Defense, good enough to go to the Super Bowl. Let's see what happens. We're real quick there. The other reason that I think I got optimism here is because you look at the Niners, you look at the Rams, you look at the Bears, not so much Seattle, and Green Bay kind of now since their injuries. All these teams are offensive. Chicago's defense isn't good. 49ers defense isn't good. Rams defense is solid, but Seattle's defense is good, but they got by the Rams. Green Bay's defense was great. Mike has gone down. They haven't been as good. Look at Curtis. You got an Eagles show to do. You can't be doom and gloom going into the playoffs. I'll do it for you. All right, Curtis. Curtis, you love the misery, Curtis. Did you grow up in Philly, Curtis? You're not in Philly now, right? I thought you were out of the city now. Did you grow up in Philly? Or have you just been an Eagles fan your whole life and the Eagle fandom has beat the Philly mentality into you? You must be miserable. Xander, I walked 16 yards going down the steps today. All right, Hogan. Your defense got other things to worry about than the Eagles offense, my friend. I did not. I just found my people. There you go, Curtis. Good stuff. All right, guys. I love all you guys, man. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. All right. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the super chats today, man. Thank you, Paulie B, for the supers, brother. Shout out to your daughter. Happy birthday to your daughter. All right. And sorry your in-laws are from Buffalo. Kimberly, thanks. Big Mike, thank you, man. Favorite underrated, Kyle, T-Time. T-Time, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Pumper, thank you as always, Pump. Siglor, Joshua Jackson, Miguel, Jason, Dice, Park, JH, Fleming, and Riot. Thanks all you guys for all the super chats, man. All right. Original, I'm wondering this too. Are there any real Philadelphians? I grew up right outside the city, but I spent a lot of my days in the city. I went to high school in 17th and Girard. 17th and Girard. All right. You want to see a driving clinic? Put your boy Z on Broad Street. Fucking, I navigate that third lane like no other. All right. Boop, pop over. Boom, cut in. All right. Now it's St. Joe's Prep in the city, high school. Z, I agree with you. Bills have top pass defense, 30th run defense, torrential rain, and we throw. Yeah, I mean, Roll, what the fuck was that, Roll? Roll, what the fuck was that? I mean, John didn't want to hear it. John will do anything. John does not want to criticize Petula. It's pretty funny. But, I mean, come on. Roll, what are we overthinking here? It's literally so torrential. You can see it on the TV cameras, night and day. I mean, it's like, what are we doing here? Can you drive Lincoln Drive? Come on, Original. I own Lincoln Drive. All right? Fucking I own Lincoln Drive. We used to go up Lincoln Drive. I would go up Lincoln Drive and go to Fairmount Park. We did a lot of shit at Fairmount Park growing up. Yeah, Roll. I mean, what are we doing here? It's like it's torrential downpour in Buffalo in late December, and you come out and throw the ball 3 straight times. I mean, I don't give a shit if your quarterback is Joe Montana. Run the ball. Like, what are we doing here? Get under center and run the ball. And then on second down, give me a play action. I mean, come on here. Sometimes the simplest, dumbest shit that, anybody from their couch can say to do, sometimes that is the right thing to do. Yeah, Bert Gary says, at least it was play action. Yeah, I guess. J-Mac, I criticized. Oh, that was a crazy comment. I haven't heard him criticize Petula once. Has he criticized Petula once outside of the give him a layup? Criticized Petula. He never criticizes Petula. And y'all say Petula is predictable. Good one, Reyes. Billy, me neither, man. I don't really get him either, brother. I really don't. Billy, I saw you. I love seeing this. I love keeping receipts on people. Original Philly, I saw you hating on me on another channel. What happened, bro? Now you're here. Now you're here talking with me. I saw you fucking hating. I couldn't even defend myself. I saw you hating in the comments on another channel. What happened, Original Philly? What happened, brother? I love my haters. I'm getting a lot of them this year. It's good. It's pretty funny. As long as you're thinking about me. I know you all are. All right. Love all you guys. Hit the like button. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, We're talking about it, debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.